You all. I'm, we just wanted to kind of address the gathering to let you know where we are coming from and why we are here today. I mean, of course, all of you know. One of the things is we are talking, I mean, the main thing we're talking about today is the flyover over Basham Circle, the Sankey Flyover project. We all were concerned when we heard about it. And so as a group, we got together and kind of researched the project details and spoke to some of our experts who will be sharing their insights about the project. We also have Mr. Prahlad from the BBMP who will be presenting his point of view. So and we're thankful for you to have come here today. So we will, without taking too much time, we will go to the presentations. I welcome all our panelists, Professor Ashish Verma from the IISc Sustainable Transportation Lab, Mr. Ravindra Reshme, a thinker, a professor of botany, Mr. Harish Narsappa, a senior advocate, and Mr. Prahlad, engineer-in-chief, BBMP. And we are really lucky today also to have the support of, oh sorry, is Miss, okay, Ms. Shaheen Shasha will also be joining us soon. She is the co-founder of Bus Prayanikara Vedike. We're really thankful to have with us Prakash Belwadi, who very gladly accepted to moderate this function. Just a quick overview of the. So this is the area we are talking about, from Kaveri Junction going towards Basham Circle. Welcome, ma'am. This is the area that will, so over this area, going like that, and then the road will be also widened. So this is another screenshot of the area that is going to be. Now this is important. So we are looking at the flyover starting from that junction, from the Kaveri side, going all across and landing on number 1. That's the point of landing on the Tank Bund Road. And the widening will happen till 2. We are unclear about this junction. The bottlenecks we see are 5. Of course, our magic box, which is already a bottleneck, will become further a bottleneck. And 1 at the landing itself, and 2 at the 18th Cross Junction, and 3 further towards the Aranya Bhavan. So I will hand over the mic now. Before I hand over the mic, I would like to thank Canara Union, the president, and the committee members for being so proactive in giving us this hall. Also, MSI, we've got the support of MSI, MRWA. We also, okay. Okay, so thank you everyone for being here. I'm handing over the mic now to Prakash. Thank you.
Thank you, Preeti. It's terrific to see so many people have come here. I just want to tell you how the flow of the program will be. Initially, we had thought that there'll be a presentation by whom the organizers have contacted already. That is Professor Verma and the 2 other panelists. But we were told that this should be a more open, wider consultative meeting. So Mr. Prahlad, we invited him, and he has kindly agreed to come here. So we have reversed the order of the presentation. It'll run like this. First, Mr. Prahlad will present what the plan is. And then we will go through a presentation by Professor Ashish Verma on what he thinks of the project, which is already studied. Then, we will see whether there has been any due legal process that has been followed by the government in framing and creating such a project proposal. And if the government indeed persists with it, whether there are any legal remedies available to us, as citizens. And then we will have from the Bus Prayanikara Vedike, we want to see whether the real solution, which we have been saying ad nauseum, should be a modal shift in the way we look at transportation personal commute in the city. ಅಂದರೆ ಎಲ್ಲರೂ ಕಾರ್ನಲ್ಲಿ ಓಡಾಡೋದು ಅದು ಯಾವ ಥರ ಫ್ಯೂಚರ್ ಅನ್ನೋದ್ರ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ಯೋಚನೆ ಮಾಡಬೇಕಾಗಿದೆ. ಅಂದರೆ ಕಾರಿಗೆ ಮಾತ್ರ ಫೆಸಿಲಿಟೇಷನ್ ಮಾಡೋದು, ಪೆಡೆಸ್ಟ್ರಿಯನ್ಸ್ಗೆ ಮಾಡೋದಿಲ್ಲ ಅನ್ನೋ ಥರದ್ದು ಹಿಂದಿನಿಂದ ಕಂಪ್ಲೇಂಟ್ ಇದೆ ನಮಗೆ. ಈಗ ನೋಡಿ, ನಮಗೆ ಒಂದು ಅಬೌಟ್ 5,000-6,000 buses occupy less than 5% of the carriageway space in Bengaluru city. And they do nearly 46-48% of transportation needs every day. Can you imagine? So we'll have to look at a modal shift perhaps, and that is what she will speak about. And then we have one of your own, Ravindra Reshmi, who's been a professor at MES College, head of botany department for 32 years, a firebrand journalist, very well known, who will actually speak about how citizens can participate in such decisions that the government makes, because we are the ultimate users. I want to say this because there are so many of you. There's a set of questions which, once the speakers finish, when the Q&A begins, I'll go through the set of formalized, collated questions. Then we will ask others to speak. Please be brief. Some general rules we'll follow. No ad hominem attacks, no personal attacks, no attacks on government and government idea, party ideology. We'll just, as much as possible, we'll stick to this issue of the flyover, whether it's a reasonable, rational, useful, aesthetic project for this city. That is what we will stick to. The second thing I want to say is that some time has been given to each of the speakers. 20 minutes for the main presentation, 20 minutes for the technical presentation, 15 minutes for the legal presentation by Harish Narsappa. Then there'll be 10 minutes for, for the citizen side of it. And I'm saying at the outset that I'm going to be, there are two ways to do this, that when the 15 minutes are over for the first two speakers, I'll say you have 5 minutes. I don't want to do that. I would suggest that you just stick to 20 minutes. Just stop at 20 minutes. There in the Q&A, if you have something left over, you can talk there. Just aim to stop at 20 minutes. Everybody, because I'm from theater, I've been a director for long, and I'm very rude by nature. So we'll just stop. And people are asking questions also. Don't be rude to the speakers. Make it a question. Even if it is a suggestion, it's correct, you make it. But make it really brief. See if you can finish it in 25 words, that question. If you want to speak longer, I think we'll have to do another session for that. You cannot do it here. Just because it's not practical, there's not much time. 25 minutes, sit and write down or think in your head, compose that question you want to ask. No follow-up question. Okay, otherwise it'll become a personal fight between two people. This is it. We'll start, I think you should really put your hands together for Mr. Prahalad, who now I would say, since he has come from the government side, it's like he's come to the lion's den. Okay, so over to Mr. Prahalad, and please maintain silence. Don't take videos. Switch off your mobile phones or keep it on silent mode. Okay, thank you very much. You want to stand on that side, sir, or here?
ಎಲ್ಲ ನಾಗರಿಕ ಬಂಧುಗಳಿಗೆ ಬೃಹತ್ ಬೆಂಗಳೂರು ಮಹಾನಗರ ಪಾಲಿಕೆ ಮತ್ತು ಘನ ಸರ್ಕಾರದಿಂದ ಮತ್ತು ನನ್ನ ಕಡೆಯಿಂದ ಆತ್ಮೀಯ ನಮಸ್ಕಾರಗಳು. ಈ ಒಂದು ಕಾರ್ಯಕ್ರಮ ಒಂದು ವಾರದ ಮುಂಚೆ ಆಯೋಜನೆ ಆಗಿತ್ತು. ಆ ಆಯೋಜನೆಯಲ್ಲಿ 4 ಜನ ಸ್ಪೀಕರ್ಸ್ ಇದ್ದರು. ಇವರು ಇಂಟ್ರೊಡ್ಯೂಸ್ ಮಾಡ್ದಂಗೆ ಆಶೀಶ್ ವರ್ಮಾ ಸಾಹೇಬರು, ರವೀಂದ್ರ ರೇಷ್ಮೆ ಅವರು, ನರಸಪ್ಪ ಅವರು ಮತ್ತು ಬಸ್ಸು ಪ್ರಯಾಣಿಕರ ವೇದಿಕೆ ರವರು ಸೇರಿಕೊಂಡಿದ್ದರು. ಆವಾಗ ಶಾಹೀನಾ ಅಂತ ಅವರು. ಆವಾಗ ನಾನು ಅದನ್ನು ನೋಡಿದೆ. ಅದು ಬೃಹತ್ ಬೆಂಗಳೂರು ಮಹಾನಗರ ಪಾಲಿಕೆಯ ಯೋಜನೆ ಆಗಿದೆ, ಸರ್ಕಾರದ ಅನುಮೋದನೆ ದೊರೆತಿದೆ. ಅದಕ್ಕೆ ಮುಖ್ಯವಾಗಿ ನಾನು ಒಬ್ಬ ಬಂದು ಈ ಕಾರ್ಯಕ್ರಮದಲ್ಲಿ ಬಂದು ನಮ್ಮ ಉದ್ದೇಶಗಳೇನು, ಧ್ಯೇಯೋದ್ದೇಶಗಳೇನು, ಬರೀ ಒಂದು ಯೋಜನೆ ಮಾಡೋದು ಅಷ್ಟೇ ಮುಖ್ಯ ಅಲ್ಲ, ಅದು ಸಾರ್ವಜನಿಕರಿಗೆ ತಲುಪಬೇಕು. ಮೊದಲನೇ ಹೆಜ್ಜೆಯಿಂದ ಹಿಡಿದು ಅದು ಕೊನೆ ಆಗುವಂಥವರೆಗೂ ತಮ್ಮ ಸಹಕಾರ ಮತ್ತು ತಮ್ಮ ಎಲ್ಲರ ಅದ್ರ ಪಾರ್ಟಿಸಿಪೇಷನ್ ಬೇಕು ಅಂತ ತಿಳ್ಕೊಂಡು ನಾನೇ ನಮ್ಮ ಈ ಆಯೋಜಕರಿಗೆ ಫೋನ್ ಮಾಡಿದೆ, ಈ ಥರ ನಾನು ಒಬ್ಬನ್ನ ಸೇರಿಸ್ಕೊಳ್ಳಿ. ಸೊ 2 ರೀತಿ ಇದು, ಒಂದು ಸಂವಾದ ಆಗ್ತದೆ, ನಿಮ್ಮ ಮಾತನ್ನ ನಾನು ನೇರವಾಗಿ ಕೇಳಿಸ್ಕೋಬಹುದು, ಮತ್ತು ಅದದ್ದು ತಗೊಂಡು ಸರ್ಕಾರದ ಮಟ್ಟದಲ್ಲಿ ಯಾವ ರೀತಿಯಲ್ಲಿ ಬದಲಾವಣೆಗಳು ತರಬೇಕಂದ್ರೆ ಬದಲಾವಣೆಗಳು ತರೋದಕ್ಕೆ, ಮತ್ತು ಅದನ್ನು ಇಂಪ್ರೂವ್ಮೆಂಟ್ ಮಾಡಬೇಕು ಅಂದರೆ ಇಂಪ್ರೂವ್ಮೆಂಟ್ ಮಾಡೋದಕ್ಕೆ, ಮತ್ತು ಇನ್ನೂ ಏನಾದರೂ ಸಲಹೆ ಮತ್ತು ಸೂಕ್ತವಾದದ್ದು ಇದ್ದರೆ ಅದನ್ನು ಅಳವಡಿಸ್ಕೊಳ್ಳೋದಕ್ಕೆ ಒಂದು ಓಪನ್ ಮೈಂಡೆಡ್ನೆಸ್ ಇರಬೇಕಾಗ್ತದೆ. ಆ ಓಪನ್ ಮೈಂಡೆಡ್ನೆಸ್ಗೋಸ್ಕರನೇ ನಾನೇ ವಾಲಂಟಿಯರ್ ಮಾಡಿದೆ, ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಬರ್ತೀನಿ ಅಂತ. ನನಗೆ ಈ ಒಂದು ಅವಕಾಶ ಕೊಟ್ಟಿದ್ದಕ್ಕೆ ಎಲ್ಲ ಆಯೋಜಕರಿಗೆ, ಅಂದರೆ ಸ್ಯಾಂಕಿ ಕೆರೆ ತಂಡದವರಿಗೆ ನನ್ನ ಅಭಿನಂದನೆಗಳನ್ನ ಮತ್ತು ಕೃತಜ್ಞತೆಗಳನ್ನ ತಿಳಿಸ್ತಿದ್ದೀನಿ. ಸೊ ಈಗ ಚೆನ್ನಾಗಿದೆ, ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಫ್ಲೈಓವರ್ ಯಾಕೆ ಅಂತ. ದಟ್ಸ್ ಎ ವೆರಿ ಗುಡ್ ಕ್ವಶನ್. ಇಟ್ ಈಸ್ ಎ ಸ್ಟಾರ್ಟರ್ ಆ್ಯಕ್ಚುಲಿ. ತಮಗೆ ಗೊತ್ತಿರೋ ಹಾಗೆ ಇವತ್ತು ಬೆಂಗಳೂರು ನಗರ ಏನಕ್ಕೆ ಫೇಮಸ್ ಅಪ್ಪ ಅಂತಂದರೆ, ಆಚೆಯಿಂದ ಮಾತಾಡೋರು ಟ್ರಾಫಿಕ್ ಕಂಜೆಷನ್ಗೆ ಅಂತ. ಒಪ್ಕೊಳ್ತೀರಾ? ಡು ಯು ಆಲ್ ಅಗ್ರಿ ದಟ್ ದೇರ್ ಇಸ್ ಟ್ರಾಫಿಕ್ ಕಂಜೆಷನ್? ಸೊ ಈ ಒಂದು ಟ್ರಾಫಿಕ್ ಕಂಜೆಷನ್ಗೆ ಒಂದು ಬೇರೆ ಬೇರೆ ಆದ ಒಂದು ಅಭಿಪ್ರಾಯಗಳು ಮತ್ತು ಎಷ್ಟೊಂದು ಅದೇ ಆದ ಒಂದು ಅವರ ಒಂದು ಅಭಿಪ್ರಾಯದಂತೆ ಒಂದು ರೂಪುರೇಷೆಗಳನ್ನ ತಯಾರು ಮಾಡ್ತಾನೆ ಇರ್ತೀವಿ. ಎಫೆಕ್ಟಿವ್ ಟ್ರಾಫಿಕ್ ಮ್ಯಾನೇಜ್ಮೆಂಟ್ ಪ್ಲ್ಯಾನ್ ಅಂತ. ಎಫೆಕ್ಟಿವ್ ಟ್ರಾಫಿಕ್ ಮ್ಯಾನೇಜ್ಮೆಂಟ್ ಪ್ಲ್ಯಾನ್ ಅಂತಂದ್ರೆ ಏನು ಅಂದರೆ, ಯಾವ ರಸ್ತೆಯಲ್ಲಿ ಎಷ್ಟು ವಾಹನಗಳು ಓಡಾಡ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದಾವೆ, ಅದಕ್ಕೆ ಯಾವ ಹಂತದಲ್ಲಿ ನಾವು ಅದಕ್ಕೆ ಬದಲಾವಣೆಗಳು ತರಬಹುದು ಅನ್ನೋದಕ್ಕೆ. ಆ ಬದಲಾವಣೆಗಳಲ್ಲಿ ಒಂದು ಹಂತವಾಗಿ ಅಂತಂದರೆ, ಮೊದಲನೇದಾಗಿ ಒಂದು ರಸ್ತೆ ದ್ವಿಮುಖ ಸಂಚಾರ ಇರ್ತದೆ. ಆ ದ್ವಿಮುಖ ಸಂಚಾರನ ಏಕ ಸಂಚಾರ ಮಾಡಿ ಟ್ರಾಫಿಕ್ ಮ್ಯಾನೇಜ್ಮೆಂಟ್ ಮಾಡ್ಬೋದಾ ಅನ್ನೋದು. ಎರಡನೇದಾಗಿ ಆ ದ್ವಿಮುಖ ಸಂಚಾರದಿಂದ ಏಕ ಸಂಚಾರ ಮಾಡಿದ ಮೇಲೆ ಟ್ರಾಫಿಕ್ ಫ್ಲೋ ಒಂದು ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ ಇಂಪ್ರೂವ್ಮೆಂಟ್ ಕಾಣಿಸ್ತದೆ. ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ ದೇರ್ ವಿಲ್ ಬಿ ಸಮ್ ಫ್ಲೋ, ಟ್ರಾಫಿಕ್ ಫ್ಲೋ ಜಾಸ್ತಿ ಆಗ್ತದೆ. ಒಂದು ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ ಸುತ್ತಿ ಬಂದ್ರೂ ದೇರ್ ವಿಲ್ ಬಿ ಫ್ರೀ ಫ್ಲೋ ಇರ್ತದೆ. ಅದಾದಮೇಲೆ ಏಕ ಸಂಚಾರನೂ ಏನಾಗ್ತದೆ, ವಾಹನಗಳ ದಟ್ಟಣೆ ಜಾಸ್ತಿ ಆಗ್ತದೆ. ಇವತ್ತು ತಮಗೆಲ್ಲ ಗೊತ್ತಿರುತ್ತೆ, ಬೆಂಗಳೂರು ನಗರ ಏನು ಪೆನ್ಷನರ್ಸ್ ಪ್ಯಾರಡೈಸ್ ಅಂತ ಕರೆಸ್ಕೊಳ್ತಾ ಇತ್ತು, ಇವತ್ತು ಬೆಂಗಳೂರು ನಗರ ಕರ್ನಾಟಕದ ರಾಜಧಾನಿ ಆದಮೇಲೆ ಅದೇ ಆದ ಒಂದು ಕೊಡುಗೆಗಳು ಕೊಡ್ತಾ ಇದೆ. ಎಂಪ್ಲಾಯ್ಮೆಂಟ್ ಕ್ಯಾಪಿಟಲ್ ಆಗಿದೆ, IT ಕ್ಯಾಪಿಟಲ್ ಆಗಿದೆ, ಸಿಲಿಕಾನ್ ವ್ಯಾಲಿ ಆಫ್ ದಿ ವರ್ಲ್ಡ್ ಅಂತಲೂ ಹೇಳ್ಬೋದು. ಈಗ ಹೊಸದಾಗಿ ಸೇರ್ಪಡೆ ಆಗಿರೋಂಥದ್ದು ಸ್ಟಾರ್ಟಪ್ ಕ್ಯಾಪಿಟಲ್ ಅಂತ. ಈ ಸ್ಟಾರ್ಟಪ್ ಕ್ಯಾಪಿಟಲ್ ಅಂತ ಆದ ತಕ್ಷಣ ಏನಾಯಿತು, ಪ್ರತಿಯೊಬ್ಬರು ಮನೆಯಲ್ಲೂ ಒಂದು ಆಫೀಸ್ ಆಗಿಬಿಟ್ಟಿದೆ. ಇವಾಗ ತಾವೆಲ್ಲ ನೋಡ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದೀರ, ಮಲ್ಲೇಶ್ವರಂ ಅಲ್ಲ, ಇಂದಿರಾನಗರ ಅಲ್ಲ, ಕೋರಮಂಗಲ ಅಲ್ಲ, ಈ ಎಲ್ಲ ಪ್ರದೇಶಗಳಲ್ಲಿ ವಸತಿ ಬಡಾವಣೆಗಳಲ್ಲೂ ಸಹಿತ ಆಫೀಸ್ಗಳಾಗಿ ಕ್ರಿಯೇಟ್ ಆಗಿದೆ. ಇವೆಲ್ಲ ಬದಲಾವಣೆಗಳು ತಡೆಯೋದಕ್ಕೆ ಮಾಡೋದಕ್ಕೆ ಅದೆಲ್ಲ ಬೇರೆ ರೀತಿಯೇ ಇರ್ತದೆ. ಆದರೆ ಅದಕ್ಕೆಲ್ಲ ಮುಂದೆ ಹೋಗೋದು ಬೇಡ. ಈಗ ಏನು ಮಾಡಬೇಕು, ಇವಾಗ ಸಮಸ್ಯೆ ಬಂದಿದೆ, ಆ ಸಮಸ್ಯೆನ ಬಗೆಹರಿಸ್ಕೊಳ್ಳೋದು ಇದ್ದೇ ಇರ್ತದೆ. ಈ ಒಂದು ಸಮಸ್ಯೆ ಇವತ್ತು ತಾವು ನೋಡಿರಬಹುದು, ಮುಖ್ಯ ರಸ್ತೆಯಲ್ಲಿ ಬಿಟ್ಟುಬಿಟ್ಟು ಜನಗಳು ವಸತಿ ಸಮುಚ್ಚಯದ ರೋಡ್ಗಳಲ್ಲೆಲ್ಲ ಸಂಚಾರ ಆಗ್ತಾಯಿದೆ. ಆಟೋ ರಿಕ್ಷಾಗಳಿರ್ಬೋದು, ಕಾರ್ಗಳಿರ್ಬೋದು, 2 ವೀಲರ್ಸ್ ಅಂತೂ ಕೇಳೋಂಗೆ ಇಲ್ಲ. ಎಲ್ಲ ರಸ್ತೆಗಳು ಅಂದರೆ ಎಲ್ಲ ಸಾರ್ವಜನಿಕರ ಮನೆ ಮುಂದೆ ಎಲ್ಲ ಓಡಾಡ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದಾರೆ. ಇವತ್ತು ನಾನು ಅನುಭವದಿಂದ ಹೇಳ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದೀನಿ, 60+ ಆದಮೇಲೆ ಮಕ್ಕಳು ತಂದೆ ತಾಯಿಗಳನ್ನ ರಸ್ತೆಗೆ ಕಳಿಸೋದೇ ಇಲ್ಲ, ಮನೆ ಒಳಗಡೆನೇ ಅವ್ರು ಲಾಕ್ ಮಾಡಿಬಿಟ್ಟಿದ್ದಾರೆ. ಈಗ ಯಾಕಾಯಿತು ಅಂದರೆ, ಮುಖ್ಯ ರಸ್ತೆಗಳಲ್ಲಿ ವಾಹನ ದಟ್ಟಣೆ ಜಾಸ್ತಿ ಆಗಿದೆ. ಈ ವಾಹನ ದಟ್ಟಣೆಗಳನ್ನ ನಾವು 173 ಜಂಕ್ಷನ್ಗಳನ್ನ ಕಳೆದ ಒಂದು ವರ್ಷದಿಂದ ನಾವು ಸ್ಟಡಿ ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದೀವಿ. ಅದರೊಳಗೆ 10 ಜಂಕ್ಷನ್ನ ಪ್ರೈಮರಿ ಜಂಕ್ಷನ್ ಗುರುಗುಂಟೆಪಾಳ್ಯ ಇರ್ಬೋದು, ಹೆಬ್ಬಾಳ ಫ್ಲೈಓವರ್ ಇರ್ಬೋದು, ಕೆ ಆರ್ ಪುರಂ ಇರ್ಬೋದು, ಸಿಲ್ಕ್ ಬೋರ್ಡ್ ಇರ್ಬೋದು, ಈ ರೀತಿಯಲ್ಲಿ ಹೈ ಡೆನ್ಸಿಟಿ ಜಂಕ್ಷನ್ಸ್ ಅಂತ. ಅದಾದಮೇಲೆ 50 ಜಂಕ್ಷನ್ಗಳಲ್ಲಿ ಯಾವ ರೀತಿಯಲ್ಲಿ ಕಂಜೆಷನ್ ಸ್ಟಾರ್ಟ್ ಆಗಿದೆ, ಯಾವ ರೀತಿಯಲ್ಲಿ ಅದನ್ನು ತಡೆಗಟ್ಟಬಹುದು ಅನ್ನೋದು. ಅದಾದಮೇಲೆ ಇನ್ನು 113 ಜಂಕ್ಷನ್ಗಳನ್ನ ಯಾವ ರೀತಿಯಲ್ಲಿ ಟ್ರೀಟ್ ಮಾಡಬೇಕು ಅಂತ ನಾವು ನಡೀತದೆ. ತಾವೆಲ್ಲ ಇವತ್ತು ಪೇಪರ್ನೆಲ್ಲ ನೋಡ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದೀವಿ. ಇವತ್ತು ಹೆಬ್ಬಾಳ ಫ್ಲೈಓವರ್ ಏನಿದೆ, ಕೆಲವೊಂದು ಮಾರ್ಪಾಟ್ಗಳನ್ನ ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದೀವಿ. ಏರ್ಪೋರ್ಟಿಂದ ಬರೋರು ಒಂದು ಲೇನಲ್ಲಿ ಹೋಗಬೇಕು, ಮತ್ತು ಅಕ್ಕಪಕ್ಕದಲ್ಲಿರುವಂತಹ ಬಡಾವಣೆಗಳು ಯಾವ ರೀತಿಯಲ್ಲಿ ಸಂಚಾರ ಮಾಡಬೇಕು. ಸೊ ದಿಸ್ ಆರ್ ಆಲ್ ಸ್ಮಾಲ್ ಶಾರ್ಟ್ ಗ್ಯಾಪ್ ಅರೇಂಜ್ಮೆಂಟ್ಸ್ ಈ ಕಡೆ ಆ ಕಡೆ ಮಾಡ್ತಾಯಿದ್ದೀವಿ. ಆದರೆ ಏನಾಗ್ತಾ ಇದೆ, ಇವತ್ತು ಬೆಂಗಳೂರು ನಗರ ಬೆಳೀತಾ ಇರೋ ವೇಗ, ಡೈನಮಿಕ್ ಸಿಟಿ ಬೆಳೀತಾ ಇರೋ ವೇಗ ತಮಗೆಲ್ಲ ಗೊತ್ತಿದೆ. ಕಳೆದ ಒಂದು 3 ತಿಂಗಳು ಮುಂಚೆ ನಮ್ಮ ಮಾಹಿತಿ ಇತ್ತು 84 ಲಕ್ಷ ವಾಹನಗಳಿದೆ ಅಂತ. ನಿನ್ನೆ ನಮ್ಮ ಸ್ಪೆಷಲ್ ಕಮಿಷನರ್ ಟ್ರಾಫಿಕ್ ಅಂತ ಇವತ್ತು ಅಪ್ಗ್ರೇಡ್ ಮಾಡಿಕೊಟ್ಟಿದ್ದೀವಿ. ಮೊಹಮ್ಮದ್ ಸಲೀಂ ಅವರು ಬಂದಿದ್ದಾರೆ. ಅವರು ಹೇಳ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದಿದ್ದ ಮಾಹಿತಿ ಪ್ರಕಾರ 1,03,000 ವಾಹನಗಳಾಗ್ಬಿಟ್ಟಿದೆ ಅಂತ. 1,03,00,000 ಆಗಿಬಿಟ್ಟಿದೆ ಅಂತ. ಸೊ ಈ ರೀತಿ ಆದಾಗ ನಾವೇನು ಮಾಡಬೇಕು, ಎಕ್ಸ್ಟ್ರಾ ಸ್ಪೇಸ್ ಕ್ರಿಯೇಟ್ ಮಾಡಲೇಬೇಕಾಗ್ತದೆ. ಆ ಎಕ್ಸ್ಟ್ರಾ ಸ್ಪೇಸ್ ಕ್ರಿಯೇಟ್ ಮಾಡೋದಕ್ಕೆ ಅಂತಂದರೆ ಅದಕ್ಕೆ ಒಂದೇ ಒಂದು ಉಪಾಯ ಅಂತಂದರೆ ರಸ್ತೆ ಮೇಲೆ ಅಂದರೆ ಫ್ಲೈಓವರ್ ನಿರ್ಮಾಣ ಮಾಡೋದು ಅಥವಾ ಗ್ರೇಡ್ ಸಪ್ರೇಟರ್ ಮಾಡೋದು, ಒಂದು ಅಟ್ಲೀಸ್ಟ್ ಜಂಕ್ಷನ್ಸ್ನಲ್ಲಿ ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ ಇಂಪ್ರೂವ್ಮೆಂಟ್ ಮಾಡೋವಂಥದ್ದು. ಇವಾಗ ಏನು ಸ್ಮಾಲ್ ಮ್ಯಾನೇಜ್ಮೆಂಟ್, ಟ್ರಾಫಿಕ್ ಮ್ಯಾನೇಜ್ಮೆಂಟ್ ಅಂತ ಏನು ಹೇಳ್ತಾ ಇದ್ವಿ, ಅದು ಲಾಂಗ್ ಟರ್ಮಲ್ಲಿ ಆಗ್ತಾನೇ ಇಲ್ಲ, ಶಾರ್ಟ್ ಟರ್ಮಲ್ಲೇ ಕ್ಲೋಸ್ ಆಗೋಗ್ತಾ ಇದೆ. ಲಾಂಗ್ ಟರ್ಮ್ ಮೆಷರ್ಸೇ ಬೇಕಾಗ್ತಾ ಇದೆ. ಇವತ್ತು ತಾವೆಲ್ಲ ಅಂದ್ಕೊಂಡಿರಬಹುದು, ನಮ್ಮ ಯಶವಂತಪುರ ಫ್ಲೈಓವರು ನಾನು 2007ನೇ ಇಸ್ವಿಯಲ್ಲಿ ಕಾರ್ಯಪಾಲಕ ಅಭಿಯಂತರ ಎಕ್ಸಿಕ್ಯೂಟಿವ್ ಇಂಜಿನಿಯರ್ ಆದಾಗ ನಿರ್ಮಾಣ ಮಾಡಿದ್ದು. ಆ ಟೈಮಲ್ಲೂ ಅಷ್ಟೇ ನಮಗೆ ಟ್ರಾಫಿಕ್ ಭಾಳ ಕಮ್ಮಿ ಇದೆ, ಇದು ಬೇಕಾ ಬೇಡವಾ ಅನ್ನಿಸ್ತಾ ಇತ್ತು. ಇವತ್ತು ನಮ್ಮ ಗುರುಗುಂಟೆಪಾಳ್ಯ ಜಂಕ್ಷನಿಂದ ಪ್ರಾರಂಭ ಮಾಡಿಕೊಂಡ್ರೆ ಮೊದಲನೇ ಜಂಕ್ಷನ್ ಸಿಗ್ತಾ ಇದೆ ನಿಮಗೆ ಯಶವಂತಪುರ ಫ್ಲೈಓವರು. ಜಸ್ಟ್ ಇಮ್ಯಾಜಿನ್ ಮಾಡಿ, ಆ ಯಶವಂತಪುರ ಫ್ಲೈಓವರ್ ನಾವು ನಿರ್ಮಾಣ ಮಾಡಿಲ್ಲ ಅಂತಂದರೆ ಜನ ಅಲ್ಲೇ ಲಾಕ್ ಆಗಿಬಿಡ್ತಾಯಿದ್ರು. ಅದಾದಮೇಲೆ ಮತ್ತೆ CNR ಸರ್ಕಲ್ ಅಂಡರ್ ಪಾಸ್ ಇದೆ, ಅದನ್ನು ತಾವು ಯೋಚನೆ ಮಾಡಬೇಕು. ಅದು ಇರಲಿಲ್ಲ ಅಂತ ಇಟ್ಕೊಳ್ಳೋಣ. ಸೊ ನಿಂತು ಮಾಡ್ತಾಯಿದ್ದು. ಈಗಾಗಲೇ ಟ್ರಾಫಿಕ್ ಕಂಜೆಷನ್ ಇರೋವಂಥ ಒಂದು ಇದರಲ್ಲಿ ನಾವು ಏನೂ ಮಾಡದೆ, ಫ್ಲೈಓವರು ಮಾಡಲಿಲ್ಲ, ಗ್ರೇಡ್ ಸಪ್ರೇಟರ್ ಮಾಡಿಲ್ಲ ಅಂತಂದಿದ್ರೆ ಜನ ಹೇಗೆ ಟ್ರಾವೆಲ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಾಯಿದ್ರು. ಆ ಒಂದು ಇದಕ್ಕೆ ನಮ್ಮ 3ನೇದು ಬರ್ತದೆ ಈ ಸ್ಯಾಂಕಿ ಜಂಕ್ಷನ್ ಅಂತ, ಅಥವಾ ಭಾಷಮ್ ಸರ್ಕಲ್ ಜಂಕ್ಷನ್ ಅಂತ ಏನು ಕರಿತೀರ ಅದನ್ನು. ಈ ಒಂದು ಭಾಷಮ್ ಸರ್ಕಲ್ ಅಂದರೆ ಇವಾಗ ಗುರುಗುಂಟೆಪಾಳ್ಯ ಜಂಕ್ಷನ್ ಬಿಟ್ಟರೆ ನಿಮಗೆ ತಡೆಗಟ್ತಾ ಇರೋವಂತಹ ಒಂದು ಜಂಕ್ಷನ್ ಅಂತಂದರೆ ಇವತ್ತು ಭಾಷಮ್ ಸರ್ಕಲ್ ಜಂಕ್ಷನ್ ಅಂತ. ಸೊ ಅದರಲ್ಲಿ ಯಾವ ರೀತಿಯಲ್ಲಿ ನಿಮಗೆ ಈ ಫ್ಲೈಓವರ್ ಯಾಕೆ ಬೇಕು ಅನ್ನೋ ವಿಚಾರ ಹೇಳಬೇಕು ಅಂತಂದರೆ, ಈ ಒಂದಕ್ಕೆ ಫ್ರೀ ಟ್ರಾಫಿಕ್ ಫ್ಲೋ ಅನಾಲಿಸಿಸ್ ಅಂತ ಮಾಡ್ತೀವಿ. ಫ್ರೀ ಟ್ರಾಫಿಕ್ ಫ್ಲೋ ಅನಾಲಿಸಿಸ್ ಅಂತಂದ್ರೇನು, ರಾತ್ರಿ 12 ಗಂಟೆ ಅಥವಾ 1 ಗಂಟೆ ರಾತ್ರಿಯಲ್ಲಿ ನೀವು ಗುರುಗುಂಟೆಪಾಳ್ಯ ಜಂಕ್ಷನಿಂದ ತಾವು ಅಲ್ಲಿಂದ ಟ್ರಾವೆಲ್ ಮಾಡೋಕ್ಕೆ ಬಿಟ್ಟಾಗ ತಾವು MG ರೋಡ್ ಆಗಿರಬಹುದು, ಅಥವಾ ವಿಧಾನಸೌಧ ಇರಬಹುದು, ಅಥವಾ ಇನ್ಯಾವುದಾದ್ರೂ ಒಂದು ಪಾಯಿಂಟ್ನ ತಾವು ಇಟ್ಕೊಂಡು ಆರಿಜಿನ್ ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ಡೆಸ್ಟಿನೇಷನ್ ಇಟ್ಕೊಂಡಾಗ ತಾವು ಒಂದು ಫ್ರೀಯಾಗಿ ಯಾವುದೇ ಅಡೆತಡೆ ಇಲ್ಲಾರ್ದಂಗೆ ಒಂದು ಜಾಗಕ್ಕೆ ರೀಚ್ ಆಗ್ತೀರಾ. ಅದು ಟೈಮ್ X ಅಂತ ಇಟ್ಕೊಂಡ್ರೆ, ನೆಕ್ಸ್ಟು ಪೀಕ್ ಅವರ್ ಅಂತಂದರೆ ಬೆಳಗ್ಗೆ 9ರಿಂದ ಅಥವಾ 8ರಿಂದನೇ ಪ್ರಾರಂಭ ಆಗ್ತಾಯಿದೆ. ಇವಾಗ ಪೀಕ್ ಅವರ್ ಬೆಂಗಳೂರಿನಲ್ಲಿ 8 ಗಂಟೆಯಿಂದ ರಾತ್ರಿ ಬೆಳಗ್ಗೆ 8 ಗಂಟೆ ಅಥವಾ 10 ಗಂಟೆ, 9:30ಯಿಂದ 10:30 ಅಂತ ಲೆಕ್ಕ ಇಟ್ಕೊಂಡ್ರೆ ದಟ್ ಈಸ್ ದಿ ಪೀಕ್ ಅವರ್ ಅಂತ ಇಟ್ಕೊಂಡ್ರೆ ತಾವು ಅದೇ MG ರೋಡ್ ಆಗಿರ್ಬೋದು, ವಿಧಾನಸೌಧ ಆಗಿರ್ಬೋದು, ಮತ್ತು ಇನ್ಯಾವುದಾದ್ರೂ ಪಾಯಿಂಟ್ನ ತಾವು ಹೋಗಬೇಕು ಅಂದಾಗ ಟೈಮ್ ವಿಲ್ ಬಿ X+Y. ಸೊ ವಾಟ್ ಈಸ್ ದಿ ಡಿಫ್ರೆನ್ಸ್ ಬಿಟ್ವೀನ್ X+Y ಅಂತ ಅಂದಾಗ ಅಷ್ಟು ಟ್ರಾವೆಲ್ ಟೈಮ್ ಜಾಸ್ತಿ ಆಗ್ತದೆ ಅಂತ. ಸೊ ಟ್ರಾವೆಲ್ ಟೈಮಲ್ಲಿ ನೀವು ಜಸ್ಟ್ ಅನಲೈಸ್ ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಳ್ಳಿ, ಒಂದು ವಾಹನಕ್ಕೆ ಅಷ್ಟು ಸಮಯ ಬೇಕಾದರೆ ಅದ್ರ ಒಳಗಡೆ ಪ್ರಯಾಣ ಮಾಡುವಂತಹ ವೆಹಿಕಲ್ಗಳು ಎಷ್ಟು ಟೈಮ್ ಕಳೀತದೆ ಅಂತ. ಸೊ ವಾಟ್ ಈಸ್ ದಿ ಟೈಮ್ ಟೇಕನ್ ಇನ್ ದಿ ಪೀಕ್ ಅವರ್ ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ವಾಟ್ ಈಸ್ ದಿ ಟೈಮ್ ಟೇಕನ್ ಅಟ್ ದ ಫ್ರೀ ಫ್ಲೋ ಅವರ್ ಅಂತ. ಅದನ್ನು ಕಂಪ್ಯಾರಿಟಿವ್ ಮಾಡಿದಾಗ ತಮಗೆ ಅನಿಸುತ್ತೆ ಹೌದು ಫ್ರೀ ಫ್ಲೋ ಆಫ್ ಟ್ರಾಫಿಕ್ ಈಸ್ ಮೋರ್ ಇಂಪಾರ್ಟೆಂಟ್ ಅಂತ ಅನಿಸ್ತದೆ. ಆಮೇಲೆ ಇನ್ನೊಂದು ಈ ಒಂದು ಕಂಜೆಷನ್, ಇನ್ನೊಂದು ಸೆಕೆಂಡ್ ಡ್ರಾಬ್ಯಾಕ್ಸ್ ಅಂತ ಏನು ಹೇಳ್ತೀವಿ, ಈ ಜಂಕ್ಷನ್ಗಳಲ್ಲಿ ವಾಹನಗಳು ನಿಲ್ಲಿಸ್ಕೊಂಡು ಟ್ರಾಫಿಕ್ ಬಿಡೋ ತನಕ ವೆಯ್ಟ್ ಮಾಡೋ ಟೈಮಲ್ಲಿ ಮೋಸ್ಟ್ ಆಫ್ ದಿ ವೆಹಿಕಲ್ ಇವತ್ತು ಎ ಸಿಯಲ್ಲೇ ಎಲ್ಲ ಗಾಡಿಗಳನ್ನ ಉಪಯೋಗಿಸ್ತಾರೆ. ಹಾಗಾಗಿ ಎಲ್ಲ ಗಾಡಿ ಆನ್ನಲ್ಲೇ ಇರುತ್ತೆ. ಅದರ ಫ್ಯೂಯಲ್ ಕನ್ಸಂಪ್ಷನ್ ಬಿಟ್ಟರು ಅದರ ಪೊಲ್ಯೂಷನ್ ಲೆವೆಲ್, ಕಾನ್ಸಂಟ್ರೇಟೆಡ್ ಪೊಲ್ಯೂಷನ್ ಲೆವೆಲ್ ಅಟ್ ಜಂಕ್ಷನ್ಸ್ ವಿಲ್ ಬಿ ವೆರಿ ವೆರಿ ಹೈ. ಈ ಒಂದು ದೃಷ್ಟಿಯಿಂದ ಏನಾಗುತ್ತೆ, ಆ ಜಂಕ್ಷನ್ಗಳಲ್ಲಿ ಒಂದು ಟ್ರಾಫಿಕ್ ವೆಹಿಕಲ್ಗಳು ಫ್ರೀಯಾಗಿ ಹೋಗುವಂಥದ್ದು ಮಾಡಬೇಕು. ಆ ಒಂದು ದೃಷ್ಟಿ ಇಟ್ಕೊಂಡು ಈ ಒಂದು ಫ್ಲೈಓವರ್ ನಿರ್ಮಾಣ ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಇರೋದು. ಇವತ್ತು ಬೆಳಗ್ಗೆ ಈ ಒಂದು ಕಾರ್ಯಕ್ರಮ ಬರೋದಕ್ಕೆ ಮುಂಚೆ ಒಂದು ಸ್ಮಾಲ್ ವಿಡಿಯೋ ಮಾಡಿ ಯಾವ ಥರ ಇದೆ ಅಂತ ಅನ್ನೋದಕ್ಕೆ ತಮಗೆಲ್ಲ ತೋರಿಸ್ಬೇಕು ಅಂದ್ಕೊಂಡಿದ್ದೆ. ಆ ವಿಡಿಯೋ ರನ್ ಮಾಡಿಪ್ಪ. ಸೊ ಈ ಒಂದು ಟ್ರಾಫಿಕ್ ಕಂಜೆಷನ್ ನಿಲ್ಲಿಸ್ಕೊಳ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದಾಗ ಫ್ರಸ್ಟ್ರೇಷನ್ ಲೆವೆಲ್ ಅಂತಲೂ ಬರುತ್ತೆ. ಮನುಷ್ಯರಿಗೆ ಒಂದು ಫ್ರಸ್ಟ್ರೇಷನ್ ಲೆವೆಲ್ ಅಂತ, ಈ ವೆಹಿಕಲ್ಗಳಲ್ಲಿ ಕೂತ್ಕೊಂಡು ಎಲ್ಲಾದರೂ ಅವ್ರದ್ದೇ ಆದ ಅರ್ಜೆನ್ಸಿ ಇರುತ್ತೆ. ನಮ್ಮ ಬೆಂಗಳೂರು ಅಥವಾ ಇಂಡಿಯಾದಲ್ಲಿ ಟೈಮ್ ಸರಿಯಾಗಿ ಹೊರಡೋದಿಲ್ಲ ಮನೆಯಿಂದ, ರಸ್ತೆಯಲ್ಲೇ ನಾವು ಫಾಸ್ಟಾಗಿ ಹೋಗೋದು. ಹಾಗಾಗಿಬಿಟ್ಟು ಈ ಒಂದು ಫ್ರಸ್ಟ್ರೇಷನ್ ಲೆವೆಲ್ ಅಟ್ ಜಂಕ್ಷನ್ಸ್ ಆಲ್ಸೋ ವಿಲ್ ಬಿ ವೆರಿ ವೆರಿ ಹೈ. ಆ ಒಂದು ದೃಷ್ಟಿಯಿಂದನೂ ಸಹಿತ ಒಂದು ಫ್ರೀ ಫ್ಲೋ ಆಫ್ ಟ್ರಾಫಿಕ್ಗೆ ಮಾಡಬೇಕು ಅಂದ್ಕೊಂಡಿದ್ದೀವಿ. ಈ ಒಂದು ಸ್ಮಾಲ್ ವಿಡಿಯೋ ನೋಡಿ. ಇದರೊಳಗಡೆ ಆಲ್ಮೋಸ್ಟು ನಾವು ಇಟ್ ಮೇ ನಾಟ್ ಬಿ ಗಿವಿಂಗ್ ದಿ ರಿಯಲ್ ಪಿಕ್ಚರ್ ಆಲ್ಸೋ. ಈ ಒಂದು ಇದರಲ್ಲಿ ನೋಡಿದಾಗ ಈ ಒಂದು ಸದಾಶಿವನಗರ ಮೇಲ್ಗಡೆಯಿಂದ ಬರುವಂತಹ ವಾಹನಗಳು ನಿಲ್ತಾ ಇರೋವಂಥದ್ದು. ಇವಾಗ ಸ್ಯಾಂಕಿ ರೋಡ್ ಕಡೆಯಿಂದ ಬರುವಂಥ ವಾಹನ ಫ್ರೀ ಇದೆ. ಇದೆಲ್ಲ ಪಾರ್ಕ್ ಆಗ್ತಾ ಇದೆ. ರನ್ ಮಾಡಪ್ಪ. ಸೊ ಎಷ್ಟು ಪೈಲಪ್ ಆಗ್ತಾ ಇದೆ ವೆಹಿಕಲ್ಗಳು. ಯಾಕೆ ಪೈಲಪ್ ಆಗ್ತಾ ಇವೆ ಅಂತಂದರೆ ಅವಕ್ಕೆ ದೇರ್ ಇಸ್ ಎ ಕಂಜೆಷನ್ ಅಂತ, ಅವಕ್ಕೆ ಚಾನ್ಸ್ಗೆ ವೆಯ್ಟ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದಾರೆ. ಇದು ಎಲ್ಲಿ ತನಕ ಹೋಗುತ್ತೆ ಅಂತಂದರೆ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಒಂದು ಯಾವುದೋ ಒಂದು ಕಾಫಿ ಶಾಪ್ ಇದೆ, ಆ ಕಾಫಿ ಶಾಪ್ ತನಕನೂ ಹೋಗುತ್ತೆ. ಈ ಕಡೆ ಬಂದರೆ ನಮ್ಮ ಸ್ಯಾಂಕಿ ಗೇಟ್ ತನಕನೂ ಬರುತ್ತೆ. ಇದಕ್ಕೆ ಅವಕಾಶ ಹೇಗೆ ಮಾಡೋದು? ಸೊ ವಾಟ್ ಈಸ್ ದಿ, ಇದರಲ್ಲಿ ಎರಡು ರೀತಿ ಇದೆ. ಒಂದು ಇಂಜಿನಿಯರಿಂಗ್ ಸೊಲ್ಯೂಷನ್ನು, ಒಂದು ಎನ್ವೈರ್ಮೆಂಟ್ ಪ್ರೊಟೆಕ್ಷನ್ನು ಆಗಬೇಕಾಗ್ತದೆ. ಇವೆರಡರ ಮಧ್ಯದಲ್ಲಿ ವಿ ಹ್ಯಾವ್ ಟು ಬ್ರಿಂಗ್ ಎ ಸಸ್ಟೈನಬಲ್ ಡೆವಲಪ್ಮೆಂಟ್ ಅಂತ. ಈ ಸಸ್ಟೈನಬಲ್ ಡೆವಲಪ್ಮೆಂಟ್ ಅಂತಂದರೆ ಯಾವ ರೀತಿಯಲ್ಲಿ ಪರಿಸರ ಮತ್ತು ಅಭಿವೃದ್ಧಿ ಕಾರ್ಯನ ಯಾವ ರೀತಿಯಲ್ಲಿ ಹೊಂದಾಣಿಕೆ ಮಾಡ್ತೀವಿ ಅದ್ರ ಮೇಲೆ ಡಿಪೆಂಡೆಂಟ್ ಆಗ್ತದೆ. ನೋಡಿ, ಇದೆಲ್ಲ ಟ್ರಾಫಿಕ್ ಜಾಮ್ ಆಗ್ತಾಯಿದೆ. ಎಷ್ಟು ತನಕ ಆಗ್ತಾಯಿದೆ ಅನ್ನೋದು ನಿಮಗೆ ಇನ್ನೂ ಹೋಗ್ತಾ ಇದೆ. ಐ ಕ್ಯಾನ್ ಸ್ಟಾಪ್ ಇಟ್ ಆಲ್ಸೋ, ಬಟ್ ಇಟ್ ವಿಲ್ ಗೋ. ಪೈಲಪ್ ಆಗ್ತಾಯಿದೆ. ಈ ಪೈಲಪ್ ಆಗೋದನ್ನು ಇಫ್ ದೇರ್ ಈಸ್ ಎ ಫ್ಲೈಓವರ್ ಇದ್ದರೆ ಅವರು ಜಸ್ಟ್, ಇಟ್ಸ್ ನಾಟ್ ಎ ಫ್ಲೈಓವರ್ ಆ್ಯಕ್ಚುಲಿ, ಇಟ್ ಈಸ್ ಎ ಜಂಕ್ಷನ್ ಇಂಪ್ರೂವ್ಮೆಂಟ್ ಸ್ಕೀಮ್, ಎ ಲಾಂಗ್ ಟರ್ಮ್ ಜಂಕ್ಷನ್ ಇಂಪ್ರೂವ್ಮೆಂಟ್ ಸ್ಕೀಮ್ ಅಷ್ಟೇ. ಫ್ಲೈಓವರ್ ಅಂದರೆ ತುಂಬ ಇಟ್ ಇಸ್ ನಾಟ್ ಎ ಇಂಟಿಗ್ರೇಟೆಡ್, ಇಟ್ ಇಸ್ ನಾಟ್ ಕ್ರಾಸಿಂಗ್ ಎನಿ ಅದರ್ ಫ್ಲೈಓವರ್ಸ್. ಬಟ್ ಇದನ್ನು ಮಾತ್ರನೇ ನಾವು ಒಂದು ಜಂಕ್ಷನ್ನ ಟ್ರೀಟ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದೀವಿ. ಇದು ತಮಗೆಲ್ಲ ಗೊತ್ತಿದೆ. ಸ್ಯಾಂಕಿ ವೈಡ್ನಿಂಗ್ ವರ್ಕು 2011 ಅನುಮೋದನೆ ಆಗಿದೆ. 1 ವರ್ಷದಲ್ಲಿ ಮಾಡಬೇಕು ಅಂತ ಇತ್ತು. ಅದೆಲ್ಲ ನಾವು ಇಲ್ಲಿವರೆಗೂ ಮಾಡೋಕ್ಕಾಗಿಲ್ಲ. ಆದರೆ ಇವಾಗ ವೈಡ್ನಿಂಗ್ ಮಾತ್ರ ಮಾಡಿದ್ರೆ ಏನೂ ಬೆನಿಫಿಟ್ ಇಲ್ಲ, ತಿರ್ಗಾ ಇಟ್ ವಿಲ್ ನಾಟ್ ಸರ್ವ್ ಎನಿ ಪರ್ಪಸ್ ಅನ್ನೋ ಒಂದು ವಿಚಾರಕ್ಕೆ ಅಡಿಷನಲ್ ಆಗಿ ಸರ್ಕಾರದ ಮುಂದೆ ನಾವು ಪ್ರಸ್ತಾವನೆ ಮಾಡಿ, ಸರ್ ಇದು ವೈಡ್ನಿಂಗ್ ಮಾಡಿದ್ರೆ ಸಾಧ್ಯ ಇಲ್ಲ, ಇಟ್ ವೋಂಟ್ ಸರ್ವ್ ಎನಿ ಪರ್ಪಸ್, ಅಗೇನ್ ದಿ ಪೈಲಿಂಗ್ ಅಪ್ ಆಫ್ ವೆಹಿಕಲ್ಸ್ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ. ಅದರಿಂದಾಗಿ ಇದರ ಜೊತೆಗೆ ಒಂದು ಇಂಟಿಗ್ರೇಟೆಡ್ ಫ್ಲೈಓವರ್ ಇದ್ದರೆ ಈ ವೈಡ್ನಿಂಗ್ ಕಾರ್ಯದ ಜೊತೆ ಇದು ಆದರೆ ಅನುಕೂಲ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ ಅನ್ನೋ ಒಂದು ದೃಷ್ಟಿಯಿಂದ ನಾವು ಸರ್ಕಾರದ ಮುಂದೆ ಪ್ರಸ್ತಾವನೆ ಮಾಡಿದ್ವಿ. ಆ ಸರ್ಕಾರ ಈ ನಮ್ಮ ಒಂದು ಪ್ರಸ್ತಾವನೆಯನ್ನು ಅನುಮೋದನೆ ಮಾಡಿ ಈ ಒಂದು ಫ್ಲೈಓವರ್ಗೆ ಅನುಮೋದನೆ ಕೊಟ್ಟಿದೆ. ಈ ಫ್ಲೈಓವರ್ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ನಾವು ಏನೇನು, ಸರ್ 20 ನಿಮಿಷ ಆದ ತಕ್ಷಣ ನನಗೆ ಹೇಳಿಬಿಡಿ, ನಾನು ಅಲ್ಲಿಗೆ ನಿಲ್ಲಿಸ್ತೀನಿ. ಓಕೆ ಸರ್. ಸೊ ಆ ಒಂದು ಹೇಗಿದೆ ಆಮೇಲಿಂದ ಮತ್ತೆ ಇದು ನಾವು ಟ್ರಾನ್ಸ್ಪರೆಂಟಾಗಿ ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದೀವ ಈ ಕಾರ್ಯನ, ಅಥವಾ ನಾವು ಏನೋ ಮುಚ್ಚಿಟ್ಕೊಂಡು ಮಾಡಬೇಕಾ, ಆ ಥರದ್ದೇನೂ ಇಲ್ಲ, ಭಾವನೆ ನಮಗೆ ಇಲ್ಲೇ ಇಲ್ಲ. ಬೃಹತ್ ಬೆಂಗಳೂರು ಮಹಾನಗರ ಪಾಲಿಕೆ ವಿ ಆರ್ ಓಪನ್ ಟು ಐಡಿಯಾಸ್. ವಿ ವಿಲ್ ಡೆಫಿನೆಟ್ಲಿ, ಇವತ್ತು ತಮಗೆಲ್ಲ ಗೊತ್ತಿರೋ ಹಾಗೆ ಸರ್ಕಾರ ಇವತ್ತು BMLTA ಅಂತ ಒಂದು ಆ್ಯಕ್ಟ್ ಪಾಸ್ ಮಾಡಿದೆ. ಇವತ್ತು ಅದರ ಪ್ರಕಾರವಾಗಿ ಬೃಹತ್ ಬೆಂಗಳೂರು ಮಹಾನಗರ ಪಾಲಿಕೆ ಆಗಿರ್ಬೋದು, ರೈಲ್ವೇಸ್ ಆಗಿರಬಹುದು, ಅಥವಾ ಮೆಟ್ರೋ ಆಗಿರ್ಬೋದು, ಅಥವಾ ಇವತ್ತು ಏನು ಸಬರ್ಬನ್ ರೈಲ್ಸ್ ಅಂತ ಇದೆ, ಈ 5 ಏನು, ಅಥವಾ ಮೊಬಿಲಿಟಿ ಪ್ಲ್ಯಾನ್, ಅದರ ಇವಾಗ ಪೆಡಸ್ಟ್ರನೈಸೇಷನ್ ಅಂತ ಇವತ್ತು ತಾವೆಲ್ಲ ನೋಡ್ತಾ ಇರಬಹುದು. ವಿಧಾನಸೌಧದ ಆಸ್ಪಾಸ್ನಲ್ಲಿ ಏನು ಟೆಂಡರ್ ಶೂರ್ ಕಾಮಗಾರಿ ಅಂತ 2011ನೇ ಇಸ್ವಿಯಲ್ಲಿ ಪ್ರಾರಂಭ ಆಯಿತು, ಅದನ್ನು ಇವತ್ತು ಸ್ಮಾರ್ಟ್ ಸಿಟಿ ಯೋಜನೆಯಲ್ಲಿ ಫುಟ್ಪಾತ್ ಶುಡ್ ಬಿ ದಿ ಪ್ರಯಾರಿಟಿ. ಫುಟ್ಪಾತ್ಸ್ ಅಗಲ ಆಗಬೇಕು, ಜನರು ನಡೆಯೋದಕ್ಕಾಗಬೇಕು. ಆ ದೃಷ್ಟಿಯಿಂದ ಎಲ್ಲ ಆರ್ಟಿರಿಯಲ್ ಸಬ್-ಆರ್ಟಿರಿಯಲ್ ರಸ್ತೆಗಳಲ್ಲಿ ಫುಟ್ಪಾತ್ ವಿಡ್ತ್ನ ಮಿನಿಮಮ್ 2.2 ಮೀಟರ್ಸ್. ಇವತ್ತು ತಾವು ಇದನ್ನು ನೋಡ್ಬೋದು, ಜಯಮಲ್ ರೋಡ್ ಆಗಿರಬಹುದು ಅಥವಾ ಬಳ್ಳಾರಿ ರೋಡ್ ಇವಾಗ ಪ್ರಾರಂಭ ಮಾಡಿದ್ದೀವಿ. ಯಾವುದೇ ರಸ್ತೆಗಳಾಗಿರ್ಬೋದು, ಪೆಡಸ್ಟ್ರನೈಸೇಷನ್ಗೂ ನಾವು ಒತ್ತು ಕೊಡ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದೀವಿ. ಹಾಗಾಗಿ ಐ ವಿಲ್ ಜಸ್ಟ್ ಇಷ್ಟು ನಾನು ಪೀಠಿಕೆ ಹೇಳಿದ್ದೀನಿ. ಐ ವಿಲ್ ಜಸ್ಟ್ ರನ್ ಥ್ರೂ ದಿ ಹೋಲ್ ಪ್ರಾಜೆಕ್ಟ್. ಇವಾಗ ಇವತ್ತು ಏನು ಕೀ ಪ್ರಾಜೆಕ್ಟ್ಸು ನೆಕ್ಸ್ಟ್. ಸೊ ಇವತ್ತು ನಿಮಗೆಲ್ಲ ನಾನು ಹೇಳ್ದಂಗೆ ಮೇಯ್ನ್ ರೋಡ್ಸ್ ಯಾವಾಗ ಕಂಜೆಷನ್ ಆಯಿತು, ಜನ ಎಲ್ಲ ರೆಸಿಡೆನ್ಷಿಯಲ್ ಏರಿಯಾಗೆ ನುಗ್ತಾರೆ. ರೆಸಿಡೆನ್ಷಿಯಲ್ ಏರಿಯಾ ನುಗ್ಗಾಗ ಎಲ್ಲ ಕಡೆನೂ ವಾಹನ ದಟ್ಟಣೆ, ವಾಹನ ಕಿರಿಕಿರಿ, ಎಲ್ಲ ಪೀಸ್ಫುಲ್ ಟ್ರ್ಯಾಂಕ್ವಿಲಿಟಿ ಆಫ್ ದಿ ಏರಿಯಾ ಇಸ್ ಗೋಯಿಂಗ್ ಆಫ್. ಆ ಒಂದು ದೃಷ್ಟಿಯಿಂದ ನಾವು ಮೇಯ್ನ್ ರೋಡ್ಸ್ನ ಟ್ರಾಫಿಕ್ ಕಂಜೆಷನ್ ಫ್ರೀ ಮಾಡಲೇಬೇಕಾಗ್ತದೆ. ಆ ಒಂದು ನೆಕ್ಸ್ಟ್. ಸೊ ಇದು 2 ಜಂಕ್ಷನ್ ಪ್ಲಸ್ ಜಂಕ್ಷನ್ ಇದೆ. ನೆಕ್ಸ್ಟ್. ಸೊ ಇದೆಲ್ಲ ಅವರು ತೋರಿಸಿದ್ದಾರೆ ಆಲ್ರೆಡಿ, ಎಲ್ಲಿ ಯಾವ ಜಾಗದಲ್ಲಿ ಬರ್ತಾ ಇದೆ ಅಂತ. ಇದು RMP ಅಂತ. ಸೊ ಇವಾಗ ಏನಾಗ್ತದೆ, ಒಂದು ಐಡಿಯಾಗೆ ಒಂದು ಇದಕ್ಕೆ ಸ್ಟಿಕ್ ಆನ್ ಆಗಬೇಕಾಗ್ತದೆ. ಅದ್ರ ಮೇಲೆ ಚರ್ಚೆ ಮಾಡಿ ಅಭಿಪ್ರಾಯಗಳು, ಒಪಿನಿಯನ್ಸ್ ಫಾರ್ಮ್ ಆಗ್ತಾನೆ ಇರ್ತದೆ. ಒಪಿನಿಯನ್ಸ್ ಫಾರ್ಮ್ ಆಗಿ ಅದಕ್ಕೆ ವೆಯ್ಟ್ ಮಾಡೋಕ್ಕಾಗಲ್ಲ. ಸಮ್ವೇರ್ ವಿ ಹ್ಯಾವ್ ಟು ಫ್ರೀಸ್ ಸಮಥಿಂಗ್ ಎಲ್ಸ್. ಆ ಒಂದು ದೃಷ್ಟಿಯಿಂದ ಇವತ್ತು ಏನು ನಾವು ರಿವೈಸ್ಡ್ ಮಾಸ್ಟರ್ ಪ್ಲ್ಯಾನ್ ಆಫ್ ಬ್ಯಾಂಗ್ಳೂರ್ ಅಂತ ಇದ್ದೀವಿ. ವಿ ಹ್ಯಾವ್ ಟು ಅಕ್ಸೆಪ್ಟ್ ಒಂದು ಸಾರಿ ಕಾಂಪ್ರಹೆನ್ಸಿವ್ ಡೆವಲಪ್ಮೆಂಟ್ ಪ್ಲ್ಯಾನ್ ಅಥವಾ RMP ರಿವೈಸ್ಡ್ ಮಾಸ್ಟರ್ ಪ್ಲ್ಯಾನ್ ಅಂತ ಆದಮೇಲೆ ವಿ ನೀಡ್ ಟು ಅಕ್ಸೆಪ್ಟ್ ದಟ್ ಥಿಂಗ್ ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ವಿ ಹ್ಯಾವ್ ಟು ಗೋ ಹೆಡ್. ಇಲ್ಲ ಕಾನೂನು ಬದಲಾವಣೆ ಮಾಡೋಕ್ಕೆ ಹೋಗಬೇಕು, ಮಾಡಲೇಬೇಕು ಅನ್ನೋ ಒಂದು ಇದಕ್ಕಾಗಲ್ಲ. ಇದು 1984 ನಾನು ಹೇಳ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದೀನಿ. 1984ನಿಂದನೂ ಆ ಒಂದು ರಸ್ತೆ 30 ಮೀಟರ್ ರಸ್ತೆ, ಅಂದರೆ 100 ಅಡಿಗಳ ರಸ್ತೆ ಆಗಬೇಕು ಅನ್ನೋದನ್ನು ಅವಾಗೇನೆ ದೂರದೃಷ್ಟಿಯಿಂದ ಮಾಡಿದರು. ನಾವು 2022ಅಲ್ಲಿದ್ದೀವಿ. ಇವತ್ತು ಎಷ್ಟು ವರ್ಷ ಅಂತಂದರೆ 38 ವರ್ಷದಿಂದನೂ ನಾವು ಮಾಡೋದ್ರಲ್ಲೇ ಇದ್ದೀವಿ ಅನ್ನೋದು ನಾವು ಕಾಣ್ಬೋದಾಗುತ್ತೆ. ನೆಕ್ಸ್ಟ್. ಸೊ ಇದು ಒಂದು 4 ಲೇನ್ ಬೈಡೈರೆಕ್ಷನಲ್ ಇದು. ಇದರದ್ದು ಲೆಂತ್ ಜಾಸ್ತಿ ಇಲ್ಲ. ಇದರ ಲೆಂತ್ 150 ಮೀಟರ್ಸ್ ಅಷ್ಟೇ ಇದೆ. ನೆಕ್ಸ್ಟ್. ಇವಾಗ ಏನು ಟ್ರಾಫಿಕ್ ಕಂಜೆಷನ್ಸು ತಮಗೆ ಕೊಡ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದೀವಿ ಅದೇ. ನೆಕ್ಸ್ಟ್. ಸೊ ಇಸ್ ಎ ವೆರಿ ನ್ಯಾರೋ ರೋಡ್. ಇದು ನೋಡಿ, ಅಟ್ಲೀಸ್ಟು ನಮಗೆ 30 ಮೀಟರ್ ರಸ್ತೆ ಅನ್ನೋದಕ್ಕಿಂತನೂ ಈಗ ಒಂದು ಎಷ್ಟು ಅಡಿ ಇದೆ ಅಂದರೆ 12 ಮೀಟರ್ ಇದೆ. ಸೊ ಇಟ್ ಈಸ್ ಲೆಸ್ ದ್ಯಾನ್ 50% ಆಫ್ ದಿ ಟೋಟಲ್ ವಿಡ್ತ್ ವಾಟ್ ಈಸ್ ಎನ್ವಿಸೇಜ್ಡ್ ಇನ್ ದಿ RMP. ನೆಕ್ಸ್ಟ್. ಸೊ ದಿಸ್ ಆರ್ ಟ್ರಾಫಿಕ್ ಥಿಂಗ್ಸ್. ನೆಕ್ಸ್ಟ್. ಇದು ನಾವು BBMPಯಿಂದ ಎಷ್ಟು ಟ್ರಾಫಿಕ್ ಇದೆ, ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಬೇಕಾ ಬೇಡವಾ ಅಂತ. ಎಲ್ಲದರಲ್ಲೂ ಒಂದು ಟೆಕ್ನಿಕಲ್ ಡೀಟೇಲ್ಸ್ ಇದೆ. ಏನು ಟೆಕ್ನಿಕಲ್ ಅಂತಂದರೆ, ಒಂದು ನಾನು ಹೇಳ್ದಲ್ಲ, ಒನ್ ವೇ ಮಾಡೋವಂಥದ್ದು, ಸಿಗ್ನಲ್ ಹಾಕುವಂಥದ್ದು, ಸಿಗ್ನಲ್ಲು ಫೇಲ್ಯೂರ್ ಆದಮೇಲೆ ಇನ್ನೇನಾದರೂ ರೋಟ್ರಿ ಮಾಡೋದು, ಅದಾದಮೇಲೆ ಸಿಗ್ನಲ್ ಹಾಕೋದು, ಅದಾದಮೇಲೆ ನಾವು ಇಂಟರ್ಸೆಕ್ಷನಲ್ಲಿ ಗ್ರೇಡ್ ಸಪ್ರೇಟರೇ ಮಾಡಬೇಕಾಗ್ತದೆ. ಆ ರೀತಿಯಲ್ಲಿ ಅದು ಟ್ರಾಫಿಕ್ ಸ್ಟಡಿ ಮಾಡಿರೋವಂಥದ್ದು. ಇದು ಜಿಯೋ ಟೆಕ್ನಿಕಲ್ ಸ್ಟಡೀಸು. ನೆಕ್ಸ್ಟ್. ಇದು ಟರ್ನಿಂಗ್. ಇದು ಏನು ಅಂದರೆ ಟ್ರಾಫಿಕ್ ಸ್ಟಡಿ ಮಾಡಿರೋಂಥದ್ದು. ಇದರೊಳಗೆ ಒಂದು ದಿನದಲ್ಲಿ ಪೀಕ್ ಅವರಲ್ಲಿ ಎಷ್ಟು ಟ್ರಾಫಿಕ್ ಮೂವ್ ಆಗುತ್ತಂತೆ. 10,000 PCU ಆದಮೇಲೆ ಅದು ಡೆಫಿನೆಟ್ಲಿ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಗ್ರೇಡ್ ಸಪ್ರೇಟರ್ ಬೇಕು ಅಂತ ಹೇಳುವಂಥದ್ದು. ನೆಕ್ಸ್ಟ್ ಮಾಡಿಬಿಡು ಬೇಗ. ಸೊ ಇದೆಲ್ಲ ತಾವು ನೋಡೇ ಇದ್ದೀರಾ. ಇದರಲ್ಲಿ 2 ಲೆವೆಲಲ್ಲಿ ಬರುವಂಥ ಒಂದು ವರ್ಕು. ಇದಕ್ಕೆ ಒಂದು ವೀಡಿಯೋನು ಮಾಡಿಸಿದ್ದೀನಿ, ತಮಗೆಲ್ಲ ವೀಡಿಯೋ ಶೇರ್ ಮಾಡ್ತೀನಿ. ಅದೊಂದು ವೀಡಿಯೋ ಮಾಡಿಬಿಡಪ್ಪ. ಯೂಟ್ಯೂಬಲ್ಲಿದೆ, ಪರವಾಗಿಲ್ಲ, ಅದು ಯೂಟ್ಯೂಬಲ್ಲಿದೆ. ಸೊ ಟೈಮು ಆಗ್ತಾಯಿದೆ. ಅವ್ರು ಹೇಳಿದ್ದಾರೆ, ಮಾಸ್ಟ್ರು ಫಸ್ಟೇ ಹೇಳಿದ್ದಾರೆ 1 ನಿಮಿಷನೂ ಹೆಚ್ಚಿಗೆ ಕೊಡಲ್ಲ ಅಂತ. ನಾನು 1 ನಿಮಿಷ ಹೆಚ್ಚಿಗೆ ತೊಗೊಳ್ಳಲ್ಲ. ಮತ್ತು ಕ್ವಶನ್ ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ಆನ್ಸರ್ಸ್ಗೆ ಮತ್ತೆ ಬರ್ತೀನಿ. ತಮಗೆಲ್ಲ ಇಷ್ಟು 20 ನಿಮಿಷ ತಾಳ್ಮೆಯಿಂದ ನನ್ನ ಮಾತು ಕೇಳಿದ್ದಕ್ಕೆ ಎಲ್ಲ ಧನ್ಯವಾದಗಳು. ನಮಸ್ಕಾರ.
ಧನ್ಯವಾದಗಳು ಪ್ರಹ್ಲಾದ್ ಅವರೇ. ನಾನು ಐ ಆಮ್ ಗೋಯಿಂಗ್ ಟು ಟೇಕ್ ಅಬೌಟ್ 2 minutes for those who don't follow English and especially for Professor Verma because he's going to make his presentation in English. Overall, Mr. Prahalad is presenting the case for the whole Bangalore city, not just for this. He's saying that the registered vehicles of Bangalore city, which we had assumed, or he said they had assumed was 84 lakhs, he's revising that figure now to about over 10 million. And he says that we have only limited road space, and the only way to increase that road space, I'm not saying everything he said, but what is cogent to this, the only way to increase that road space is actually to put road on road in some way or the other, and that may mean flyovers or grade separators in some ways, and it may entail widening of road. So whether this is the only way to do it or not is what I would request Professor Ashish Verma to look at. I want to make a personal point. I came from Banishankari just now. It took 16 minutes for me to come from Banishankari to Srirampuram.
Thanks, Prakash, and thanks, citizens for Sankey, for inviting me. A few days back, I was communicating with Prakash to discuss about this event, and I just told him that, it's almost 6.5 years, and you have come back a full circle, back to square one. It's exactly, similar kind of setting in Rotary Club in Leveley Road on 23rd October 2016, when CFB had organized this whole meeting to discuss about the steel flyover and under the moment steel flyover better. That time also I came there. It was same Prakash who was moderating the event, and I talked about the same philosophy and same arguments, technical arguments about why flyover doesn't work. And it just feels like from CFB to CFS, we are actually back to square one. It seems our civic authorities have not really changed their way of thinking or not learned from what they have done and what results they have got. So let me take you through. So I will give a technical perspective. I'm a professor of transportation systems engineering. So I will give you a perspective of this Sankey Road flyover and widening project from a transportation systems engineering perspective. I'm not an activist, so I'm not giving opinions. I'm only giving you food for thought, as all of you are citizens, because it's impact your life, and you should have informed, data to take a decision as to whether it is good for you or not. Before I go, I would like to make this disclaimer that the technical analysis and views that I'm going to present today is my own individual views in the capacity of a mobility expert, and in no way forms an official opinion or view of Indian Institute of Science, Bangalore. While this is always the case whenever I go and make a presentation, but this time I was explicitly asked to make it explicit at the beginning itself, so I'm doing that. But that doesn't change, what I have to say, come and say here. Now, I would like to begin with few hypotheses. And at the end of the presentation, I'll put back these hypotheses again for you guys to answer these hypotheses, whether they are correct or not. My first hypothesis is flyovers do not solve traffic congestion. Rather, they only shift the point of traffic congestion. That's my first hypothesis. We'll see at the end. Let's wait. Let's wait. Second hypothesis is flyovers follow a vehicle-centric approach and not people-centric approach, which is opposite to the core principles of our national urban transport policy, which says focus on moving people rather than vehicles. My third hypothesis is flyovers do not account for network effects and effects of transport on tailpipe emissions, energy requirements, and environment and ecological impacts, and also impact on the equity issues. I think it is a misunderstanding that our civic agencies have that flyovers can improve the air quality. this I've been telling from beginning. I think it's a fundamentally flawed thinking that flyovers can actually help in reducing tailpipe emissions. You can say that yes, you can't really go to a free flow speed. Even if you go to a free flow speed, the optimum emissions that come out from the vehicles is only in a middle speed range. A slower vehicle or a very faster vehicle both have much higher emissions than the optimum speed range. Okay, so let's begin with this hypothesis. So this will be my overall flow of the presentation. We'll first quickly look at the global and local contextual understandings, and we'll see some very core principles what we should follow when you are thinking about urban mobility issues. Travel time delays, as you rightly pointed out, traffic congestion. I think all of us agree that these are real problems and we need solutions. On that we are on same page as Mr. Prahlad. So we'll look at what core principles we should follow. Then we'll go to some basic analysis that we did, looking at the DPR that the BBMP has prepared about the Sankey Road flyover and widening, particularly with respect to its traffic congestion mitigation potential. And I would really like to dig into what Mr. Prahlad said, long-term solutions. So we'd really like to understand how long these flyovers are as a long-term solutions through this kind of analysis. And then we'll try to understand what are the pitfalls in these current approaches and in the basic, engineering-based interventions. And would also, through a micro simulation study that I'll present, we'll try to understand what is the network effect. Do we really gain anything over a network, or is there a loss? Which, we claim that by building these flyovers, he mentioned about Yeshwantpur flyover, Siena Rao circle, actually they have not produced anything, to be really frank, in terms of what improvements you get when you look at the network effect of it. So let's see what we brings out. So first I'd like to start by saying, what is a typical urban transportation planning process which a civic agency should follow, a technical agency should follow? It starts with defining the goals and objective. Goal could be that by so and so year, we want to reach this much of modal share on public transport, walking, cycling, or goal could be we want to improve the quality of life or livability of the cities. Based on those goals and setting criteria how we will achieve those goals and objectives, we first do the inventory of the present condition. Yeah, find out what is the traffic congestion, traffic flow, travel time, queue length, delay, etc., etc. What current modes of transport exist, how much trips they are taking, and so on. Then do a forecasting, try to forecast these traffic flows, see in future how much they are going to increase. Then develop alternative plans. Alternative plans could be, okay, I would propose a flyover, maybe we'll do some traffic management measure, maybe we'll introduce some bus lane, maybe we'll have some light rail system or a metro rail corridor or something else. There could be several of these, or simple traffic management measures. There could be several of these alternative plans. They need to be first evaluated and tested holistically and with scientific criteria. After doing those comparison of different alternatives and also taking public inputs on those alternatives and what we got, you then decide which specific plan we are going to implement to solve that given problem that we are trying to address. And then do the implementation plan, which is where the DPR stage comes. The detailed project report stage comes after this. After you have done this, alternative analysis. Unfortunately, right from the time that I've been in city and seeing the projects, this whole process has been missing. We directly jump to one specific solution and start preparing a detailed project report. This is also missing in the current report of BBMP on the Sankey Road widening and flyover. We are completely missing this feasibility analysis. We are directly jumping to one specific solution and going into detailed project report. DPR are prepared only after a specific solution has been decided. How that solution has come. Whether it is optimum or not is a question. And there's just a detail of the same procedure where we also make use of scientific modeling methods. Whether it is a network level intervention, we'll go for some kind of travel demand modeling. If it is a more localized intervention, we go for some kind of micro simulation studies. But we do all that before and then come up with these alternative plans, test them, evaluate them, take public inputs, etc. Then only prepare DPR. So please be aware that in all these cases, whether it is the elevated corridor, DPR, or the steel flyover DPR, or any other DPRs that government has been preparing, they have been completely neglecting this whole process. Now you also need to understand the global and national picture, where we are globally in terms of our economic development, car ownership level, and so on. This is a very interesting graph to understand that. On y-axis, you have GDP per capita. And on x-axis, you have cars owned per 1,000 population. Okay. Now, if you look at saturated economies, the rich countries like US, Australia, Germany, Japan, etc., historically, as they have developed economically on their GDP per capita, this is the S-shaped curve, is what they have followed in terms of how their car ownership per 1,000 population has grown. Okay. This has been a similar trend seen in all these rich countries, and it tends to get saturated anywhere between 600 to 800 cars per 1,000 population. Today US GDP is anywhere around 60,000 US dollars per capita, but their car ownership is now saturated. In this S curve, the middle portion, which is somewhere between 5,000 to 20,000 US dollars per capita, this growth is steepest. This has been historically seen. Okay. What is the India's GDP? It's hardly 2,000 US dollars per capita. So we are not even born on this curve. We are literally at the doorstep. How much is our car ownership on an average for India? Any idea? 25 cars per 1,000 population. It's nowhere where US is. If you look at Bangalore, it's somewhere around 150 cars per 1,000 population roughly today. What this means, any new road space, any new road infrastructure that you would create would get filled in no time, because we have nowhere reached the saturation level of car ownership. And we are also a fast growing economy. Our GDP growth are projected quite high. We want to become a developed economy by 2047, as the government has put the target. So we are going to grow here. Can we really afford, from today's situation, even when such externality is there with low car ownership, to reach anywhere near 600, 700 cars per? What will happen to our cities? Can we really afford that? So this global picture we have to keep in mind. So any road infrastructure that you will create will get filled in no time. This is exactly what is happening with all these road infrastructure interventions. So the challenge is, if we can be really wiser, we can do something different. Can we saturate at much lower level of car ownership? Okay, this is where our good future lies. Now, Prakash was talking about how much bus, occupies space and how much car. I have some numbers to that. We did an estimate from our models to see during peak hour travel, how many cars, buses, two-wheelers are there on the road, and how much of road space they occupy. And if you see here, total road space occupied, car occupies about 8 times the area occupied by buses, and two-wheelers occupy about 5 times the area occupied by buses. If you convert this into per capita area occupied, that means space occupied on road to carry one person, a car occupies about 38 times more space to carry one passenger compared to bus, and a two-wheeler 4.8 times. This is the space economics. And in spite of this, bus is taking a lion's share of 40% trips. So this is what I was saying. See, the rate of growth of car ownership in our cities, and especially if you look at Bangalore, this slightly old data, but within 5 years, we are actually doubling the rate of car ownership per 1,000 population. This is the explosive rate at which our car ownership is growing. Just few days before, I was seeing the news that in November, we added 50,000 new registrations in just 1 month. No matter how much of road space you create, you cannot accommodate these many vehicles. They'll get filled in no time. This is actually the reality of what we have seen. Now, unfortunately, this is my most favorite slide that I always like to show. Why unfortunate? Because it talks about what negative things is happening to our cities because of these road-centric, flyover-centric approach of solving transport problem. What we do is, ever since we have become wealthier and everybody started owning car, what we are seeing is we suddenly find ourselves in more congestion delay. We put public pressure, give us road capacity. We have been aspiring society. We really aspire to own a car. They will go and give you more space because that's what they think that fetches vote. So you build more road capacity, more flyovers, more widening. What it makes is it makes the movement faster. As you rightly said, free flow speed. We want free flow speed. So they start moving faster. What this has actually done is it has resulted in huge urban sprawl of Bengaluru. Huge horizontal spread. You are now spending almost similar time but traveling much longer. Now it's a simple equation. If you have more distance to travel, your fuel consumption will also be more because it is kilometer based, and your tailpipe emissions would also be more because it is kilometer based. So essentially what you're doing is you're increasing your cumulative network level emissions as well as fuel consumption by putting these kind of road infrastructure projects. How do you come out of this vicious circle? Bring policies to discourage car ownership as well as usage. Infuse more infrastructure of sustainable modes, not these road infrastructure measures which have trapped us in this vicious circle of congestion. Provide priority to the movement of these sustainable modes. Bring land use strategies so that people can live closer to where they work. If their commute distances reduces, then it's easy for us to use a sustainable mode, walk, cycle, or public transport, and likewise. So this is something that we have to keep in mind, that we are trapped in this deeply in this vicious circle of congestion. Ideally, for a city over 5 million population, the public transport mode share should be in this range. We are much far away from it. And that's where we have extreme situation of congestion. We got to bring our modal share of public transport to this level so that you get the right balance. So what I'm going to say is this whole bottom-up approach where you look at engineering interventions, calculate the volume to capacity ratio at specific point is no longer helping us. No longer helping us looking at this global and local picture. What we should focus is reducing total vehicle kilometers traveled by all motorized modes and reduce dependence on fossil fuel. Ultimately, it should make our Bengaluru more livable, isn't it? So what we need is a systems approach, not a point-based congestion elevation. We need a network-level systems approach. What we need is reducing the number of motorized vehicles, reduce the kilometers traveled on these motorized vehicles, and also fix the energy mix of the transport. So in simple layman terms is we have to make use of sustainable modes more attractive and use of personal mobility modes less attractive. This is the way we can see a good picture. So what you should do? So if tomorrow or today, any agency comes with a plan, we should try and answer these questions. First, what is the amount of person capacity added per unit of investment made, not the vehicle capacity? What is the amount of person capacity added per unit of space, any extra space that you are creating? How much you are creating out of it? By what amount the fossil fuel consumption will change? Is it going to increase or decrease? If it is going to increase, what is the fun? Why we should be doing it? Now we have seen from Ukraine crisis, the economic crisis of Sri Lanka, and now what's happening in Pakistan in terms of the fuel prices. We can't make our economy dependent on fossil fuel. It makes it more vulnerable. Yeah? By what amount the air and noise pollution will change? If we can answer these questions in a unbiased with scientific data and evaluation, we'll always make a right choice. Just to give you a sense of, this person capacity versus vehicle capacity. If you just take a 3.5 meter wide lane, okay, if you run in normal traffic, which BBMP wants to do by creating these flyover and road widening, it will generate a lane, will generate a person capacity of about 1800 passengers per hour per direction. If the same lane is used for BRTS or a bus priority, the capacity increases by 8.3 times in person capacity terms. If you run a light rail or a metro light on it, the capacity increases by 16 to 22%. And if in the same 3.5 meter, a metro track width doesn't require more than 3.5 meter, you would actually get 38 times more person capacity. So this is the dynamics of capacity that we are talking about. This is not the only way to find out which is the best option, but this is one key way to understand the dynamics of the capacity. So what we need is this bundle of things, a combination of public transport, walking, cycling, sustainable modes, and also restrictions on making, less attractive for people to use their personal mobility modes. Now let's do some basic analysis of the Sankey road and see whether it's really a long-term solution and how much it is mitigating traffic congestion. So we took the peak hour traffic details as it is from what is given in BBMP's DPR. Now interestingly, they say that it's a 5% assumption of traffic growth rate, but when we looked at and calculated, it's not even 5%. In some cases, it's less than 5%. So, and at the same time, 5% traffic growth is an underestimation. In no way Bangalore traffic is growing with such a low pace. If you actually see different indicators, the traffic growth in Bangalore is much higher, anywhere between 12 to 25, 27%. So what we did was we took two alternative growth scenarios of 13% and 27%. We have actually looked at the RTO data. The cumulative annual growth rate of number of vehicles registered in Bangalore is almost 27%. Likewise, we have seen the traffic flow growth rate on some important corridors. It's at least 12 to 13% in many of the corridors. So, in my opinion, the traffic growth has been underestimated in DPR for whatever reason. Yeah. So, we then recalculated firstly these 5% growth rate values for these years so that we can use it for impact analysis. And we did the impact analysis of all the three options of traffic congestion which have been given in the DPR. And we took the same traffic flow counts which are given in the DPR. We have not done our own, we have just taken them on face value. And we have used the capacity values from the highway capacity manual. And also looked at the cross-sectional. We took the critical cross-section to basically do the traffic mitigation potential. By the way, this whole traffic mitigation potential which this flyover road widening is expected to achieve, that whole analysis is missing in the DPR. I mean, you are a civil engineer. You very well know volume to capacity ratio is the basic thing that we have to do to basically show how much of traffic mitigation impact it will happen. And it's completely missing in the DPR. It's surprising. So we took this level of service criteria, which basically gives different V by C range, and pictorially you can understand. The IRC suggests level of service C as a compromise level of service. Anything above that, it's kind of not an ideal condition. This is what. And if it comes to F, where volume is almost reaching capacity or greater than that, then it's not a good situation. So if you look at, so first option was this two-lane bidirectional flyover on Gutali Main Road and Sankey Road, and assuming the same 5% growth rate. This is on the deck level, on the flyover level. Okay, you can see towards the Palace Road, right from day one, the V by C ratio is more than 1. It's already at the level of service F. So how it is a long-term measure? It's not even a short-term measure. And this is how towards the Palace Road, by 20, 24, 25, it's already reaching level of service E and F, yeah? So how it is a long term? I don't understand. Yeah, it's not even a short term. It doesn't even qualify for a short term. And if you look at the at grade level, that means below at the ground level, road situation, towards Palace Road, it's already, above the level of service F. Okay, I'll have to skip all these things. Unfortunately, I don't have time, but if you allow me 5 minutes extra, because otherwise you'll not really get a good, I'm sorry, I took a little more time. Likewise, then we estimated for this growth rate of 27% as well as for growth rate of 13%, the situation is going to get worse in no time. Okay, in my opinion, anywhere 13% and above is the realistic growth rate. 5% is nowhere. Likewise, we did for option 2. Okay, on day 1 itself, on the at grade level, you will see, congestion at its peak. All these red, flags, you can clearly see that right from day 1, the congestion is going to be there. How it is a long-term solution? It's not even a short-term solution. And why this analysis has not been done, which is a basic thing to be done and put in DPR? That's the big question. Now, there is a fundamental problem with this V by C approach. One is, as I said, it's a vehicle approach, vehicle-centric approach. It takes PCU per hour, not PPHPD, the passengers per hour per direction, and it neglects all these things. Spillover effect, as we have been talking about. Shivanandar Circle flyover is the best example. For that also we were given rosy picture, but today you can see the spillover effect, and the flyover is getting congested already. And of course, how do you, address the climate action plan? BBMP itself has prepared this climate action plan. Can we really explain how this flyover project would address that climate action plan or the clean air action plan of the Pollution Control Board? I'll quickly take you through this simulation study, basically to understand. So what we did was, now a similar study we'll try to do for this specific project also. We actually simulated this whole network, okay? And there are a number of these signalized junctions also, on this network. And what we did was we run different scenarios. I'll just skip all these things. This is, just a snapshot of the simulation model. I'll not go into details. So there were 2 scenarios. BBMP was actually approaching ISC to give land to widen the CNR route. So there were 2 road widening, scenarios that we took, and also there were alternatives. So this is the stretch on which the road widening was proposed. So we simulated that. The alternative scenarios were of some additional, underpasses, crossing over CNR route and going on the Margesa road, or crossing over CNR Pass and going, towards the CV Raman bypass and SPS junction and so on, and a combination of both these underpasses. Then we had our own signal timing optimization scenario, and 2 more scenarios of if the mode share of buses increase and what happens. And we did the evaluation of queue length at these intersections, delay at these intersections, how it is changing all, scenarios, and the change in the travel time. As you rightly said, travel time, how much change we are getting is something, and the level of service. And then we did the travel time calculations on all these, stretches from here to here, or from here to here, how much travel time it will change, or from A to D, or from A to E, all those possibilities, okay? These are all the road segments, also for the level of service calculation. So taking the first, scenario, I'll quickly show you what came out from this. So in this scenario where the road widening is done, this is the existing queue length. This is at the Sadashivanagar Police Station junction. This is at the Mekri Circle junction. When the road widening happens, the queue length decreases here, which is obvious because this is the stretch where road widening is happening, but queue length is increasing here. Okay, and the travel time gain is this much. This was earlier, and this is how much. So you get a travel time gain of 0.45 minutes. Okay, For the same scenario, the queue length was here this much at the Ramaya junction and this much at the Mekri circle and here. And in the BBMP scenario of road widening, the queue length, is kind of increasing at all these and much more here. Okay. So this is the network effect or a spillover effect. And here the travel time is actually increasing. Okay, somebody traveling from here to here, the travel time is actually increasing. So if you see, this change in delay and change in queue length, wherever negative, the queue length decreases, but wherever positive, the queue length is actually increasing because of the road widening of BBMP. Likewise, the travel time, wherever there are positives, the travel time is actually increasing and not decreasing. This kind of analysis has to be done to do a alternative analysis of different options. Likewise, we did this signal timing improvisation, our own research method. We try to come up with revised timings of each of these signals and then ran that also as a simulation scenario. And interestingly, all the junctions, the queue length is actually decreasing just by optimizing the traffic signal timings. Okay? And even the travel time gains, this travel time gain of 5.22 minutes is much higher than the costly widening that the BBMP will do, 0.45 meter. At no cost, zero cost. Why you are wasting public money? And you see here, again, the queue length is decreasing. This is all just by optimizing the signal timings at those junctions. All these cases, because of the signal optimization, your queue length is actually decreasing. And if you see in the table, almost all negative values of queue length. That means everywhere the queue length has gone down. This is the signal optimization scenario. And if I just show you the comparison of all these scenarios, underpass, BBMP widening, signal timing, and so on. You see this bar carefully at each of the location. It's lowest in each of these locations. You can see. In some cases, the road widening and flyover, options are actually giving much worse, result. Even in terms of average delay per vehicle. So I ran through it very fast, but I just wanted to give you a perspective of what network level impact it creates. We are fooled actually by saying that there will be a gain and we'll reach to a free flow situation. So at the end, I'm leaving you with the same hypothesis and you can answer yourself whether these hypotheses are correct or wrong. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Verma. I have to apologize to you that I had to cut short that presentation, not because it wasn't effective. Probably from the response, it was very effective. The point is that we agreed on these times, and to be fair, I had to do that. But I must tell you that Professor Ashish Verma's analysis was the one that really made a very big difference when we actually tried to organize that citizen action concerning the steel flyover, because this is, I'm saying, as a prelude to what to Harish Narsapa's presentation. I must tell you what kind of impact it made on Harish Narsapa. He said, "I want to sacrifice 5 minutes of my time. Please allow him to speak," he told me. So if that can translate to some kind of an effective legal remedy, if that becomes necessary, we'll have to look into it. That's why I think it was necessary for all of us to understand what the government is doing, one, where experts think this is not so good. 3, if the government persists for some reason or insists on doing it, what remedies we may have. So I want to say this, that we can say that we, by meaning we, I'm saying, speaking on behalf of the organizers. I'm not its leader, I'm just privileged to be just a spokesperson here for this occasion. They have got 22 signatures for the petition. 22,000 signatures for the petition. 25,000, okay. So the government can say they have support. You can see that there is a qualitative, claim made by the government side, which has come in the newspapers now. Many people want this. The public wants this kind of thing is being said. So if it becomes a challenge of that kind of thing, even then we need to look at it. I mean, let's say that there is such a challenge. There are significant numbers on one side and significant numbers on the other side. We need to look at it. But does that mitigate the idea of due process? How did you get those numbers? How do you quantify the support you have? Is this just an impression you have, or do you have some data to prove this? When you collected that data of those numbers, was it a transparent, open process, and by which you took citizen opinion? All this is there. And if the citizens are not really aware of what this is, in a public hearing, what you'll have to do is you'll have to present your case. You have to leave it open for the public, experts in the public, to give their opinion for and against. And then there can be just public opinion, which can be overwhelming, which says, even I'm willing to wait for 5 minutes. I would rather not destroy the beauty I have in my place. People could say, right? I mean, there are all kinds of ways to look at it. So, ನಾನು ಹರೀಶ್ ನರಸಪ್ಪ ಅವ್ರನ್ನ ಕೇಳ್ಕೊಳ್ತೀನಿ, ಸಂಕ್ಷಿಪ್ತವಾಗಿ ಅವರ 15 ನಿಮಿಷದ ಟೈಮಲ್ಲಿ ಇದನ್ನು ನಿಮ್ಮ ಮುಂದೆ ಹೇಳಬೇಕು ಅಂತ ನಾನು ಕೇಳ್ಕೊಳ್ತೀನಿ.
ಸೊ ಥ್ಯಾಂಕ್ ಯು ಪ್ರಕಾಶ್ ಮತ್ತು ಈ ಸ್ಯಾಂಕಿ ಕೆರೆ ತಂಡದವ್ರಿಗೆ ನನ್ನ ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಕರೆದಿದ್ದಕ್ಕೆ ತುಂಬ ಧನ್ಯವಾದಗಳು. ಸೊ 1993 ಈಸ್ ಎನ್ ಇಂಪಾರ್ಟೆಂಟ್ ಇಯರ್ ಫಾರ್ ಅರ್ಬನ್ ಗವರ್ನೆನ್ಸ್. ಜಾಸ್ತಿ ಜನಕ್ಕೆ ಗೊತ್ತಿಲ್ಲ, ಯಾಕೆಂದರೆ ಇಟ್ ಇಂಟ್ರೊಡ್ಯೂಸ್ಡ್ there was a constitutional amendment which said urban local governance is important, and certain provisions were inserted into the constitution. ಅದು ನಾವು ಮಾಮೂಲಾಗೆಲ್ಲ ಪಂಚಾಯತಿ ರಾಜ್ ಗೊತ್ತಿರುತ್ತೆ ಎಲ್ಲ, that was because that's more sort of in the public eye. For urban areas, along with the Panchayati Raj amendment, there was also at the same time urban local bodies, in respect of governance, how to elect urban local bodies, what should we do, adella bantu. So that happened in 1993. It's important to note. One of the requirements of the constitutional amendment was the creation of something called a Metropolitan Planning Committee. What is this Metropolitan Planning Committee? It's important. Yakandre, now we all know Bengaluru is a metropolitan area. Okay, so there's a large area. I mean, it includes a wide geographical area. So for metropolitan areas, the constitutional amendment required that a Metropolitan Planning Committee has to be constituted. What is the composition of this planning committee, of this Metropolitan Planning Committee? The majority of the Metropolitan Planning Committee had to come from people we elect to the BBMP, basically our corporators. So the corporators amongst themselves had to elect people to this Metropolitan Planning Committee. Now I want to take some time for all of you to appreciate this. So this is how planning is supposed to be done as per the constitution. Has that happened in this city? No, not until now. Okay, that's one thing. This is 1993. ಸೊ ಸುಮಾರು ಹೋರಾಟ ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದಾರೆ, ನಾನು ಅಂತಲ್ಲ, ಬೇರೆ ಆಲ್ ಸಿಟಿಸನ್ಸ್ ಆ್ಯಕ್ಷನ್ ಗ್ರೂಪ್ಸ್. ದೆನ್ ವಿ ಫೈಲ್ಡ್ ಇನ್ 2014 ಅಮಾಂಗ್ ವೇರಿಯಸ್ ಅದರ್ ಥಿಂಗ್. Actually before we filed a petition, in some of the petition the High Court finally said, what are you doing? Please constitute. There was a direction by the High Court to constitute the Metropolitan Planning Committee. ಅವಾಗ ಇಮಿಡಿಯೇಟ್ ಆಗಿ ಒಂದು ತರಾತುರಿಯಲ್ಲಿ ರೂಲ್ಸ್ ತಂದು ಕಾನ್ಸ್ಟಿಟ್ಯೂಟ್ ಮಾಡಿದ್ರು. ಆ ಕಾನ್ಸ್ಟಿಟ್ಯೂಟ್ ಮಾಡಿದಾಗಲೂ ಕೂಡ ದಿ ಕಂಟ್ರೋಲ್ ವಾಸ್ ಸಾಟ್ ಟು ಬಿ ಕೆಪ್ಟ್ by the state at the state government level rather than giving it to the to the city. Okay, so ಅದನ್ನ ಚಾಲೆಂಜ್ ಮಾಡಿ ಒಂದು 2014 ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಒಂದು ರಿಟ್ ಪೆಟಿಷನ್ ಹಾಕಿದ್ವಿ, ಅದನ್ನ ನಡೀತಾ ಇದೆ. The reason why I am giving you this is the important outcome of the 2014 petition until now, that is still pending for final adjudication. The court passed an order. ಹೇಳಿದ್ರು ಈ 2014 ಒಂದು ಮಾಸ್ಟರ್ ಪ್ಲಾನ್ ಇತ್ತು. 2014, that was the last master plan. After the 2015 master plan, there is no master plan for the city. 2015 master plan admele 2031 master plan anta ಒಂದು ಡ್ರಾಫ್ಟ್ ಬಂದಿತ್ತು, ಪ್ರಿಪರೇಷನ್ ಆಗಿತ್ತು. It was in its final stage of approval. So we said, when the Metropolitan Planning Committee is not functioning properly, the master plan cannot be approved. That was our plea before the court. Court passed a direction after hearing us. Government shall not approve the master plan of 2031 without permission from the court until this matter is pending. What has happened in that matter after that? The government has not argued on merits until now. Okay? ಆಮೇಲೆ ಏನಾಯಿತು, because there is a stay, what they did was they did not approve the master plan. They started creating various projects. There was a flyover project across the city, as you know. We said master plan ಮಾಡ್ದೇನೆ ಪ್ರಾಜೆಕ್ಟ್ಸ್ನ ಮಾಡಕ್ಕೆ ಶುರು ಮಾಡಿದ್ರು. So 1 or 2 we challenged and the court again ruled in our favor. This is all on record. Finally, they scrapped the 2031 master plan. So there is no 2031 master plan. Now they have come up with an idea of 2041 master plan that is going through. That also we have gone to the High Court again and saying, we are not. So let's be clear about 2 things. One, and that is the important fact that I want all of you who oppose projects to understand. Courts cannot rule on correctness of a project. ಈಗ ಅದು ಆಶೀಶ್ ವರ್ಮಾ ಅಂತವರು ಸಹಾಯ ಮಾಡಬೇಕು. ಫ್ಲೈಓವರ್ ಬೇಕಾ ಬೇಡವಾ ಅದು ಕೋರ್ಟ್ ಕೆಲಸ ಅಲ್ಲ, ನನ್ನ ಲಾಯರ್ ನನಗೆ ಕೆಲಸ ಅಲ್ಲ. ಐ ಮೀನ್ ಆಸ್ ಎ ಸಿಟಿಸನ್, ಬಿಕಾಸ್ ಐ ಆಲ್ಸೋ ಸ್ಟಡಿಡ್ ಇನ್ MES, ಐ ಆಮ್ ಇಂಟ್ರೆಸ್ಟೆಡ್. ಬಟ್ ಫ್ಲೈಓವರ್ ಮಾಡಬೇಕಾದ್ರೆ that is not the court's job. Court is not an expert to decide whether flyover should happen or underpass should happen or better traffic management. That is the job of the government. That is the job of BBMP, traffic planning. And when it comes to planning, that is where the problem arises. So the government is not interested in making planning for the city in accordance with the constitution. That is the reality. And why do I say this? Not out of my personal opinion, out of history since 1993 until now. This is irrespective of whichever party, whichever government, they are not interested in devolving power to, planning power to the citizens. Because the Metropolitan Planning Committee has to prepare the plan for the city, the comprehensive development plan, based on plans from the ward level. The government has done one more thing. They have created a new act called BBMP Act. Okay, 2 years ago. ಅದರಲ್ಲೂ ಕೂಡ ಹೇಳ್ತಾರೆ ಡೆವಲಪ್ಮೆಂಟ್ ಪ್ಲಾನ್ ಫಾರ್ ದ ವಾರ್ಡ್. ಬಟ್ ಎಲ್ಲಿ ಕಾರ್ಪೊರೇಟರ್ಸೇ ಇಲ್ಲ, ವಾರ್ಡ್ ಕಮಿಟಿ ಎಲ್ಲಿ ಕೂತ್ಕೊಂಡು ಪ್ಲಾನ್ ಮಾಡುತ್ತೆ? So obviously what happens, but unfortunately officials are faced with the problem. They have to do something, because otherwise we will also protest. Let us be very clear. We are not happy with traffic congestion. ಬೈಕೋತೀವಿ. That is the reality. ಇವಾಗ ನಾವೆಲ್ಲ ಕೂತ್ಕೊಂಡು ಇದನ್ನು ಬೈಕೋತಾ ಇದ್ದೀವಿ, ಫ್ಲೈಓವರ್ ಬೇಡ ಅಂತ. ಬಟ್ ಟ್ರಾಫಿಕ್ ಕಂಜೆಷನ್, he is right, Mr. Prahalad is right. None of us are happy with it. So faced with this situation, they come up with various plans. So when it comes to legal issues, what can we do as citizens? Ravindra Reshmi ಅವರು ಮಾತಾಡ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದಾರೆ ಆಮೇಲೆ, ನಾನು ಆದಮೇಲೆ, ಆನ್ ಸಿಟಿಸನ್ಸ್ ಎಂಗೇಜ್ಮೆಂಟ್ ಅಂತ. Unless we insist that elections happen to BBMP continuously without any interruption, all the excuses given by all governments are false and rubbish. And this you can take as my personal opinion. They don't want corporators election. That's the reality. Okay, no political party wants corporators elections, because corporators are the ones who deal with local ward level problems, and who are mandated now by the BBMP Act, which the government has come up on its own to do ward level planning. ಆಮೇಲೆ ಹೊಸದಾಗಿ ಇನ್ನೊಂದು ಮಾಡಿದ್ದಾರೆ ಕಾನ್ಸ್ಟಿಟ್ಯೂಯೆನ್ಸಿ ಲೆವೆಲ್ ಪ್ಲಾನಿಂಗ್ ಅಂತ. ಅದನ್ನೆಲ್ಲ ಮಾಡೋದಕ್ಕೆ ಸದ್ಯಕ್ಕೆ ಆಗ್ತಾ ಇಲ್ಲ. ಸೊ ದ ಚಾಲೆಂಜ್ ಟು legal challenge to any project can only be on process issues. Now government hatra permission ತಗೋತಾರೆ, government follows, you know, Prahlad ಅವರನ್ನು ಹೇಳಿದ್ರು government approval ಕೊಟ್ವಿ, government has approved. In the current scenario they don't have a choice. But does it meet the constitutional mandate? No, it does not meet. It does not meet even the legal standards set up by the government on its own. Where is this? This flyover is not part of any plan. The widening of the Sankey road is part of the comprehensive development plan. It has been so since 1984. Our Sankey Bund road, adu widen ಮಾಡಬೇಕು ಅಂತ ಅದು 1984 ಇಂದ ಇದೆ, ಈಗ ಹೊಸದಾಗಲ್ಲ. 30 meters ಅಂತ ಪ್ರಹ್ಲಾದ್ ಸರ್ ಹೇಳಿದ್ರು. that 30 meter number is there since 1984. ಅದಾಗಿಲ್ಲ for various reasons. A group of citizens from Malleshwaram had challenged it. ಆ ವೈಡನಿಂಗ್ ಮಾಡಬೇಕು ಅಂತ ಒಂದು 10-12 ವರ್ಷದಿಂದ they immediately said we will widen it. A group of citizens had challenged it. The High Court said no, because it is part of the comprehensive development plan. But the Sankey road flyover, to my knowledge, again I am qualifying it, to my knowledge is not part of the plan. If it is, I am willing to be corrected. I haven't seen the details of the plan. ಅದಕ್ಕೆ ಕೇಳಿದೆ ನಾನು ಈ ಪ್ರೊಟೆಸ್ಟ್ ಮಾಡೋರನ್ನ, ಅದು ಏನಾದರೂ ಇದೆಯಾ ಡೀಟೇಲ್ಸ್ ಅಂತ, ಯಾರ ಹತ್ರನೂ ಸಿಗಲಿಲ್ಲ. So if I am wrong, I am happy to be corrected. If it is part of the plan, then options to challenge it legally are limited. Your options are then through your corporator, through your MLA, through your local representatives, that you are only. At the end of the day, let us be very clear, Mr. Prahlad and other officials are not accountable to citizens. They are accountable to the legal machinery within which they work. Or he has been very kind to come and present the plan. I think we should be grateful to him. But our recourse to something going wrong is through our elected representatives. And unless we engage with them, and I am hoping that Professor Reshme will talk about that, we will not be able to achieve much. Now, in terms of planning, what is it that we can do legally? So legally, I have said two simple points. Ashte innenu helakagala Prakash. Flyover beka bedwa, no court will go into it. ಫ್ಲೈಓವರ್ ಮಾಡೋದಕ್ಕೆ ಕರೆಕ್ಟಾಗಿ ಪ್ರಾಸೆಸ್ ಫಾಲೋ ಮಾಡಿದಾರ, ಕೋರ್ಟ್ಸ್ ವಿಲ್ ಹ್ಯಾಪಿಲಿ ಎಕ್ಸಾಮಿನ್ ಇಟ್. ಇಫ್ ವಿ ಆರ್ ಏಬಲ್ ಟು ಶೋ ದಟ್ ದೇ ಹ್ಯಾವ್ ನಾಟ್ ಫಾಲೋಡ್ ದಿ ಪ್ರಾಸೆಸ್, ದೆನ್ ದ ಕೋರ್ಟ್ಸ್ ವಿಲ್ ಇಂಟರ್ಫಿಯರ್. ಓಕೆ, ಬಟ್ ವಾಟ್ ವಿಲ್ ದಟ್ ಗೆಟ್ ಯು? ದಟ್ ವಿಲ್ ಓನ್ಲಿ ಪೋಸ್ಟ್ಪೋನ್ ಥಿಂಗ್ಸ್. ಪ್ರಾಸೆಸ್ ಫಾಲೋ ಮಾಡ್ತಾರೆ ಗವರ್ಮೆಂಟು, ಮಾಡಿಲ್ಲ ಅಂದರೆ ಆಯಿತು ಸ್ವಾಮಿ ಮಾಡಿಲ್ಲ, ವಿ ವಿಲ್ ಫಾಲೋ ಇಟ್ ನಾವು ಅಂತ ಹೊಸದಾಗಿ ಮಾಡ್ತಾರೆ. ಸೊ ದಟ್ ಈಸ್ ನಾಟ್ ಎ ಸೊಲ್ಯೂಷನ್. ದಟ್ ವಿಲ್ ಓನ್ಲಿ ಪೋಸ್ಟ್ಪೋನ್ ದಿ ಪ್ರಾಜೆಕ್ಟ್ and cause more traffic. As Ashish Verma said, it's not even short term, so it will cause more. So how do we ensure? Look at solutions. Solutions nododakke we can't go to court for too many things. We have to deal with other things. One is planning, and we have to insist that they plan for the city. Now why am I saying that it's relevant? Now if flyover, correct, I'm just giving you this is a legal perspective, not a planning perspective, because I'm not a planner. When you are planning the flyover, who are you consulting? Who are you consulting? Who should be consulted? What about the people who have houses on that road? Flyover means you can look into that house. That is where, when I said the Constitution envisages Metropolitan Planning Committee, which Metropolitan Planning Committee has to take into consideration plans prepared at the ward level and ward committees. Avaga gottagutte. So you can actually have a legitimate statement saying, listen, we can't have flyover where there are houses everywhere. We see so many flyovers now. I mean, you see some flyovers, I remember there's one guy living right next to the flyover. That is one thing. And planning as a whole, there's a problem. Although the Constitution says you have to plan according to this, the government still follows its legislation that was prepared many, many years ago, Karnataka Town and Country Planning Act anta. And the government keeps saying, ನಮ್ಮ ಹತ್ರ experts ಇದ್ದಾರೆ, ನಾವು plan ಮಾಡ್ತೀವಿ ಅಂತ. But the last time any expert within the government planned or prepared a plan was before I was born. because every plan is outsourced. Right? So the point is planning as, this is our right, and I want to ensure this. The right to live in a planned city is ours. If it is not being done so, it is our fault also. It is basic responsibility. And the second point I want to make, and Prakash asked this question, 22,000 signature ತಗೊಂಡ್ಬಿಟ್ರೆ, will it make a difference? It doesn't make a difference. Because the government is also elected by us. Let us be very clear about it. They are not somebody who have come from somewhere and said, "Nan madbidtini in kutkombudan." It is our elected government. We do not agree with some steps that they are planning to take. How do we oppose that? There is a process to oppose that. Unfortunately, currently, there is no process because we don't have an elected BBMP. We don't have corporators through whom we could have actually opposed. We could have asked these tough questions to them. So we can ask questions in the court on process, but that will not give the solution. If you want your only solution, if you don't want the flyover on the basis of logic and planning and all of that, as I said, in respect of planning, I believe there is some legal vacuum which can be used to question some procedures, but it may not give you full remedy. The full proper solution, remedy, alternative has to come from people like Ashish Varma. I will stop. I think I have finished much before 15 minutes. Yeah.
We just have two more speakers before we go to the Q&A. I mean, it's a no-brainer, you know. If we had, let's say, 15,000 buses in Bengaluru, and say, in addition, 10,000 mini buses or tempo traveler-sized transport. And if you had mandated that any organization, school, you know, factory, office, workspace, which has more than, say, 25 people, must arrange for transport for employees to drop them and back, then maybe we have too much road space in Bangalore could happen. I want to leave you with this thought that if you're running a factory, if you have a machine downtime of 92%, you're running a very poor business, correct? You can't have 92% downtime for any machine. Global average of machine downtime, of car downtime, personal transport downtime is 92%. 92% of the time, it is not used. Wherever this idea came from, it's not a very good idea at all, even by that logic. So we need to look at it. A modal shift perhaps is the only solution. We should look at that. And you know, later I have a question to ask Harish Narsappa. I'll ask the question now. Could there be some kind of an omnibus petition using this planning logic to say people who are not qualified to make these decisions should not be allowed to make these decisions on behalf of the citizens? You know, because I'm an engineer, because this is not an engineering issue, this is actually an issue of governance and how you look at citizens itself, you know. We must do this because it's come to this stage. I mean, whether that's a valid thing in itself, you know, you please look at that. I'll request Shaheen now to speak, you know, on behalf of the bus Prayanikaru.
Thank you, Prakash, and thank you everyone for having me here. I don't have a lot of new things to say because thanks to Ashish and Harish, most of the points have come out already. So I'll try to just pull together some of the relevant points from all the presentations and try to talk about how bus is a solution and what is not happening with bus today. Those are the things that I can focus on. So some of the things that I want to pull from Ashish's presentation, he told us how much road space the car uses and how much road space the bus uses. actually, maybe one step back, I want to start with what Prahlad sir was talking about. That there is a problem, there is congestion, very correct. And one way to solve that problem is to, there are more vehicles, let's create more space. That's a very logical way to go about solving a problem. But another way to look at that problem is, okay, there is congestion, there are too many vehicles, there is only so much road space, can we reduce the vehicles? So that is also a valid question to ask in that situation. What Ashish showed us is really that question. You know, why are we not asking that question? Because when we ask that question, how do we reduce vehicles? But we still want the same number of people to be able to commute, because people are not going away, their commute needs are not going away. Then we come to the answer of, bus. I'll talk primarily about bus, because although Ashish did show us that, there are various other alternatives also. And, when you have a bus, rapid transit or a light rail or a monorail or metro, etc., the capacities keep increasing. But the point is also not to have unlimited capacity. It is about what is needed to meet the capacities that we currently have. So I'll speak therefore with, bus really gives us that additional capacity of throughput. It carries more people with that given road space. Ashish gave us some numbers. If you remember, he said cars are using 8 times more space on the road to carry probably 20% less people, or to carry one person, yeah. Yeah, so cars are using 38 times more space to transport people. Per person, yeah. But at the same time, the number of cars on the road at any point of time, if you remember the slides he showed, during peak time, I think 2 lakh plus, 2.75 lakh cars on the road. And even if BMTC's full fleet is on the road, we have 6,000 buses. So where is the comparison? Another number that Ashish mentioned, we have 150 cars per 1,000 population. And our bus numbers are 0.5 buses per 1,000 population. So there is no competition today. If you ask, bus cannot do what it needs to do because the number of buses we have in the city are so few. We've been demanding that at least give us 1.2 buses per 1,000 population, and that would amount to, in today's situation, if we have 1.3 crore population, we're talking about 13,560 buses. I mean, it's been a tough battle with the government to get even small increases in buses. Whereas we go on investing in, thousands of crores, hundreds of crores in flyovers and road widening and metros, but when it comes to just 1,000, we need just 1,350 crores to buy 3,000 buses. When you compare that with the amount of thousands of crores that we are spending to build, so just 1,300 crores, the government is not willing to spend that money to buy buses. And that's just one part of it. Today, BMTC is in a situation where they actually have more than 6,000 buses, but they're able to operate only 5,600 buses because they don't have staff. And I mean, so it's funny how the government policies are so counterintuitive. Government is not allowing BMTC to hire more staff because they don't have the money to pay salaries, and then it becomes an added cost on the government. So government does not want BMTC to hire staff, so they're not running even the capacity they can run. Again, how much money does it take to, to hire that additional staff? Probably 100 crores. 100 crores a year. It's an annual cost because these are, every year you have to keep paying the salaries. So 100 crores a year additional to hire the immediate needs. I'm not saying that's all that is required to run BMTC. But so to save that money, government is not allowing BMTC to hire staff. But we'll go ahead and, build flyovers with so many hundreds of crores we spend on flyovers. Again, BMTC's annual expenses, if you look at that, if they're running 6,000 buses a year, their cost is around 2,700, 2,500 crores a year. That is what it takes to run BMTC. We can in fact have buses run for free if government is willing to spend that 2,000 crores, 2,500 crores a year. But forget about that. I mean, even the losses that BMTC is making and, providing them that operational gap funding to be able to run full capacity, to be able to increase its services. All of this money, which is very minuscule when compared to the amount of money that we spend on infrastructure, government is not willing to spend that money also. So from Bengaluru Bus Prayanikara Vedike, we've been campaigning since 2013 to reduce the bus fares, to increase more buses, to provide bus lanes so that buses can move faster. But all of this face so much resistance as if we are asking for the moon. But even without people asking, we are so happily building flyovers and building metro, or spending thousands of crores on projects which Professor Ashish just showed us how they're bound to fail. They are going to fail. We know probably from the day of inception itself they'll fail, but still we pump in money. It's like pumping money into a leaky bucket. But all you need is so little money to keep running more buses, introduce more buses, and provide good frequency and good connectivity. Today, many people are not using BMTC because of all of these reasons. In many places, you don't have good frequency of services. In some places, you have to walk 2-3 kilometers to get to a bus stop with good connectivity. Even the route network that BMTC currently is operating, it's 20, 30, 40 years old. Today, people are traveling from where to where. BMTC has no idea. The city has no idea. It's not only BMTC. I mean, like Harish was talking about the planning. These are all part of planning. How do we plan the city without looking at where are people living, where are they going to work? The city today does not have any idea of, where are people staying and where are they traveling to, what is the travel demand across a city. Without having this kind of an understanding, how can we actually plan traffic for the city or plan transport for the city? So we end up going to one Sankey road or one Bhashim circle or one Yashwantpur circle or some place and put signals, flyovers and widen some roads. But this is really not going to solve the larger issue of how the city is moving. We need to know where people are going. Like I was talking to one of the residents here a couple of days back, and he was mentioning that most of the traffic through Sankey Road is a through traffic. It's not people from Malleshwaram traveling to some places, but it's traffic coming from other places, traveling through to other parts of city. So why are these people not using the bus? Do we know? Do we know where they are going, where they are coming from? Does the city know why buses currently not being used and why all these all these people are traveling by private vehicles? To know this, actually, the city has to do a study. Has to do a study of, where are people traveling to today? And based on such a study, you have to plan BMTC also has to plan its route network. So there are a lot of these things which are currently not being done. So people may feel frustrated that, okay, bus is not serving our needs. But these are simple steps that can be done, which is something that, the planning department, the transport planning department, BMTC, all of these agencies together should be doing. In fact, the BMLTA, which has been recently formed, was also formed with this purpose, and that's the job of this entity. Unfortunately, there are similar problems with that entity also, like Harish pointed out. The way it is planned, it's not in accordance with the 74th Amendment currently. So there are issues with how it is constituted, but the right way to look at transport is this. You understand the origin and destination of the people living in the city, the travel needs of the people in the city, where are people traveling to. Not everyone is traveling to Majestic and Market and Shivaji Nagar today, but most of the buses are going like that. So we may need to relook at the bus network also to make it more relevant for people. So these are the kind of questions that we should ask, and not simply that, okay, this junction has a problem, how do we fix that problem? It just moves that problem to another junction. This is not new. This is not some new knowledge or new science or anything that have come. I remember 2007 is when I started getting engaged in these issues. That's 15 years. I mean, before me, there have been people who have already been engaging and asking these questions. So 15, 17 years, we have been asking the same questions. Is road widening a solution? Is flyover a solution? It is not. We've been pointing this out to the government. Despite that, we have gone on and built so many flyovers and so many roads have been widened, and we still with the same or more amount of traffic congestion. So if this is not proof enough that these solutions don't work, then what more, we are repeating the same, mistake even after learning again and again that this is not solving. So the question is it not time to give the bus a chance? Can we not give the bus a chance? I mean, a city of 1.3 crore population, can we live with just 6,000 buses? How many more buses do we need? Can the city do that kind of a planning and mapping and look at what kind of routes, new routes and services should BMTC add? like Prakash was saying, we need a lot more mini buses also, because many areas where roads are narrow, the big buses can't go. So, and BMTC does not end up serving those areas. Another reason why BMTC doesn't serve many areas is because it's again driven by revenue consideration. Which are the routes that will make revenue? Those are the routes that BMTC will operate. So in many areas where there is heavy car ownership and people are using only cars, BMTC is not even looking at servicing those areas, or in places where the accessibility is low, BMTC is not looking at servicing those areas. BMTC's fares are so high, so BMTC is not looking at serving poorer population who will not even be able to afford the bus. So all of this skewed way in which BMTC is working is because it is forced to run out of its own ticket revenue. Because again, government is not willing to fund BMTC. So at one end, we are going on pumping money into things that are not solutions, which are already failed projects, failed ideas. On the other end, we are refusing to put any money into what is the only solution we probably have. So this is where we are, and I mean, the simple sort of answer, I mean, to the Sankey Road situation is, in my opinion, is that, we should not go ahead with such projects at a time like this when so much is in question. There's no planning proper that is happening. We don't have a BBMP council in place, and we have tried these solutions and they've failed, and for so many years. So probably it's time to step back and, from doing more and more projects as stopgap measures, and look at the larger question of how to travel in the city, and do that kind of a planning and give the bus a chance to help us become that pensioners' paradise that we used to be at one point of time. And it is possible. It is very much possible with the bus. And that's where we should actually look at, many people will say that availability, frequency, all of this is a problem because there are not enough buses. And BMTC is only running those routes which will be profitable. Then again, buses slow, we will say. But then can we dedicate a lane for buses on the road? So that, because they are the ones that are moving faster. They are the buses are the vehicles which are moving people faster. So dedicate a lane. At least give the bus a priority at signals and, on road. So start with some measures in which we can prioritize the bus and let it show us the results. On Outer Ring Road, a 20-kilometer bus lane was established in, I think, 2019, towards the end of the year. And 2020 till March it ran. By the time, COVID started, and then the lane project kind of, fizzled out because there was no traffic on Outer Ring Road during that entire period of the pandemic. But those 3 months when the bus lane was operating, there were a lot of things that, 20 minutes improvement in travel time, for instance, just because the bus could move faster in that dedicated lane. So there are ways in which we can make the bus work for us, but that requires policy support and financial support from the government, which they are, even now, despite that being probably the only way forward for us, they are holding back on it. We're also submitting a petition to the government for budget allocation for this budget also. We'll share it with you all as well, and hopefully you all can sign it too. Thank you.
So before I call Reshmi, see, there are many theatres in, I'm giving you a parallel example, many theatres in Bengaluru city that the government has built. Bal Bhavan is actually managed by the Women and Child Welfare Department. Guru Nanak Bhavan is managed, I think, by sports, youth services and sports. Yavanika and Town Hall is managed by BBMP. Ravindra Kalakshetra is managed by Kannada and Culture Department. So they built various halls. Many of them are just completely in disuse. Then nobody, Bangalore, BBMP actually has that, they have another auditorium, Gubbi Virana. But it's now in disuse, nobody uses it. It's because you can't apply any standard practice to that. Now what happens is, if the government actually is willing to, there's a high power committee with the CM chairing it, and the high power committee can sanction a 72,000 crore infrastructure project. We'll build, millions of kilometers of flyovers on top of the city. They had that 100 that project that they can sanction from the top. But BMT is a corporation. It needs to manage itself like a business. So what happens is, where the money is being spent and where the revenue is coming, if it is not in the same, it doesn't have the same vigil, you can have this kind of thing. I want to leave you with one thing before Reshmi speaks. See, Gustav Pedro, many of you may know the name. he was the mayor of Bogota, right? And he made this famous statement. He said, a developed country is not a place where people have cars. Because, I said, somebody asked me a question once. I said, we can't complain about the traffic because we are the traffic, In a developed country, it's not that people, have cars. He said a developed country is a place where the rich will use public transport. That is what we should be facilitated with, I think. But I'll ask Reshmi to conclude this presentation side before we move on to the Q&A. Okay, if anybody would like to contribute to the cause so that we can have many more such sessions, hopefully not. Yeah, for the money spent for today, do contribute. The box is coming around. Thank you. Yeah.
Atmere, I am present here thanks to my dearest friend and most lovable villain of Bollywood films, Prakash Balwadi. It so happened, I saw that Pathan film came out in RMZ Galleria, Yelahanka. Now I belong to North Bangalore now. I belong to rural Bangalore district now, after spending 45 years in urban Bangalore. I received a call from Prakash Balwadi. In that film, just then I had seen that nightmare. He is making a special kind of virus which is more virulent than a COVID virus. And finally, Shah Rukh Khan eliminates him. So, like many others, I came to Bangalore with a student visa and ended up with a green card. Immigrant visa, student visa, I ended with that. In 1967, I landed in Bangalore as a 13-year-old boy seeking a PUC seat. I came from the most backward region of the state, Hyderabad, Karnataka region. I didn't have a fixed native place. The first question somebody asked me in Bangalore, which is your native place? Because my father happened to be a government doctor, there was no fixed native place at all. Gangavati, Sinnoor, Raichur, Shahpur, Bidar, Bijapur, so many native places, wherever my father was posted. So when I came to Bangalore, my first landmark was New Krishna Bhavan on Sampige Road. I'm most fascinated by the names of the roads. Sampige Raste, Bevin Marada Raste, Tengin Marada Raste, Coconut Avenue, Sampige Road. And my first lodging was the New Krishna Bhavan first floor, the room number 13, which was my favorite, my grandfather's favorite halting place. From that room number 13, I used to look down and see that Sampige Road was so open. There was a two-way traffic. And the most famous bus, city bus that used to move around was route number 11. Malleshwaram 18ನೇ cross ninda Gandhi Bazaar. Gandhi Bazaar to Malleshwaram, Malleshwaram to Gandhi Bazaar. That was in 67. After 7 years, after completing my post-graduation in Dharwad, I came back here as a research student. So something had changed by then. So Sampige Raste had become one-way road. But Malleshwaram circle was still there. And this Malleshwaram, I had never realized in my dreams also that Malleshwaram would become my permanent native place, because until then I didn't have a permanent residential address also. So anyway, there was a Malleshwaram circle. Sampige Road was as usual the same, but buses had started moving through that link road. Link road had become one-way movement. It became the passage for one-way movement of vehicle from Malleshwaram 18th class to Gandhi Bazaar. By then, route number 11, there used to be trailer buses. One behind the other, they were linked. So trailer buses were moving between Malleshwaram and Gandhi Bazaar. Finally, both Malleshwaram and Gandhi Bazaar became my karma bhumi. I got a job in MES college in 1980 as a lecturer in botany. And the same year, 1 month before, Lankesh launched his famous or infamous Lankesh Patrike. I was associated with Lankesh Patrike. So 32 years and nearly 27 years, both of them are my karma bhumis. This route number 11, Malleshwaram and Gandhi Bazaar. Malleshwaram and Gandhi Bazaar. 3 editorial meetings in Gandhi Bazar and every day teaching in MES College. Now, what is the change we see? Now, this is a civil society movement, politics of struggle. Now, the chasm between the politics of struggle and politics of power, it has been widening day after day, day after day, day after day. ಹೋರಾಟದ ರಾಜಕಾರಣ ಮತ್ತು ಅಧಿಕಾರದ ರಾಜಕಾರಣ ನಡುವಿನ ಕಂದರ ಪ್ರತಿ ದಿವಸ ವಿಸ್ತಾರಗೊಳ್ತಾ ಹೋಗ್ತಾ ಇದೆ. So much so, people who believe in power of struggle, they appear to be, madcaps. ಇವ್ರಿಗೇನು ಹುಚ್ಚಿಡಿದೆಯಾ, ಯಾಕೆ ಇದು ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದಾರೆ? ಈ ಬನಶಂಕರಲ್ಲಿ ಸೆಟ್ಲ್ ಆಗಿರೋ ಪ್ರಕಾಶ್ ಬೆಳವಾಡಿಗೆ ಈ ಮಲ್ಲೇಶ್ವರ ಮುಸಾಬರಿ ಯಾಕೆ? ಸ್ಟೀಲ್ ಬ್ರಿಡ್ಜ್ ಬೇಕು ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಬೇಡ ಅಂತಂದರು, ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಫ್ಲೈಓವರ್ ಕಟ್ಟೋಕೆ ಹೊರಟಿದ್ದು ಇನ್ನು ಬೇಡ ಅಂತಿದ್ದಾರೆ. ಬನಶಂಕರಲ್ಲಿ ಆರಾಮಾಗಿ ಸೆಟ್ಲ್ ಆಗಿದ್ದಾರೆ. ಯು ಸೋ ಮಚ್ ಡಿಮಾಂಡ್ ಇನ್ ಆಲ್ ಬೋತ್ ಸೌತ್ ಇಂಡಿಯನ್ ಫಿಲ್ಮ್ಸ್ ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ಬಾಲಿವುಡ್ ಫಿಲ್ಮ್ಸ್. ಯು ಆರ್ ನೌ ಅ ಸೂಪರ್ ವಿಲನ್. ಆದ್ರೂ ಯಾಕೆ ಈ ಊರು ಉಸಾಬರಿ ಅನ್ನೋದಿದೆಯಲ್ಲ, ಅದರಿಂದ ನಾನು ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಬಂದೆ. ಲಂಕೇಶ್ ಪತ್ರಿಕೆಯಿಂದಾಗಿ ನಾನು ಕೂಡ ದಟ್ ಊರು ಉಸಾಬರಿ ಬಿಕೇಮ್ ಮೈ ಪ್ಯಾಷನ್, ಮೈ ಇನ್ವಾಲ್ವ್ಮೆಂಟ್ ಇನ್ ಪಬ್ಲಿಕ್ ಅಫೇರ್ಸ್. The first question I asked Mr. Prahlad was, what is the width of Sampige Road? Is it 60 feet road? No, 55 feet antandru. So 55 feet Sampige Road was once a passage for two-way movement. We used to see those blue buses carrying employees of HMT, HIL, BEL. Those were the landmark, mobile landmarks of Bangalore. So ಏನಾಯಿತು? The first civil society war was lost on Sampige Road itself. ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಏನು ಬಂತು? ಸಂಪಿಗೆ ಥಿಯೇಟ್ರ್ ಇತ್ತು ಮೊದಲು, ಅದಾದ್ಮೇಲೆ ಪಕ್ಕದಲ್ಲಿ ಮಂತ್ರಿ ಗ್ರೀನ್ಸ್ ಅಪಾರ್ಟ್ಮೆಂಟ್ಸ್ ಕೇಮ್, ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ದೆನ್ ದಟ್ ಮಂತ್ರಿ ಮಾಲ್ ಕೇಮ್. ದಟ್ ಟೈಮ್ ಆಲ್ಸೋ ದರ್ ವರ್ ಪ್ರೊಟೆಸ್ಟ್. ಹೌ ಡಿಡ್ ಯು ಪರ್ಮಿಟ್ ಸಚ್ ಅ ಮಾಲ್ ಫಾರ್ ದ 55 feet road? You are allowing a 400 flat big ಮಂತ್ರಿ ಗ್ರೀನ್ಸ್ ಅಪಾರ್ಟ್ಮೆಂಟ್ and followed by a ಮಂತ್ರಿ ಮಾಲ್. And now by 2020 we are seeing a 23 or 25 storied building. One big ಮಂತ್ರಿ monster has come. Civil society lost its battle, but somewhere nemesis caught up with those mantri builders. Today you find the father and son of mantri builders company, they are in jail for some other case. They cheated their customers elsewhere in some other project. They ended up in jail. So ಎಲ್ಲ ಒಂದು ಕಡೆ ವಿಧಿ ವಿಲಾಸ, ಅವನಿಗೇನೋ ಶಿಕ್ಷೆ ಆಯಿತು ಅಂತ. But people have to suffer. People of Malleshwaram have to suffer this Sampige Road. The most notorious traffic junction is that Sampige Road. The moment you reach the Rajiv Gandhi statue itself is an aesthetic, ugliness. So what we have seen, Malleshwaram circle disappeared, Kempegoda circle disappeared, KR circle disappeared. They all became junctions. And suddenly this Malleshwaram circle underpass. Another ಒಂದು ಯಾವುದೇ ಥರದ ಒಂದು ಅಭಿರುಚಿನೇ ಇಲ್ಲದಂಥ, ಯಾವುದೇ ಥರದ ಒಂದು ಕಲಾತ್ಮಕತೆ ಅಭಿರುಚಿ ಇಲ್ಲದಂಥ ಅಂಡರ್ ಪಾಸ್ ಕಟ್ಸಿದ್ರಲ್ಲ. ನನ್ನ ನೆನಪಿದೆ, ಅನಂತಕುಮಾರ್ ಅವರು ಬಂದ್ಬಿಟ್ಟು ಶಂಕುಸ್ಥಾಪನೆ ಮಾಡುವಾಗಲೂ ಕೂಡ ದೊಡ್ಡ ಪ್ರೊಟೆಸ್ಟ್ ಆಗಿತ್ತು. ಸಿವಿಲ್ ಸೊಸೈಟೀಸ್ ಹ್ಯಾಡ್ ಪ್ರೊಟೆಸ್ಟೆಡ್ ಅಗೇನ್ಸ್ಟ್ ದ್ಯಾಟ್. ಸೊ ದರ್ ಇಸ್ ಅನ್ ಅಂಡರ್ ಪಾಸ್ ಆನ್ ಐದರ್ ಸೈಡ್ ಆಫ್ ದ್ಯಾಟ್. ಟೂ ನ್ಯಾರೋ ಸರ್ವಿಸ್ ರೋಡ್ಸ್, ಸೋ ಕಾಲ್ಡ್ ಸರ್ವಿಸ್ ರೋಡ್ಸ್, ದೇ ಆರ್ ನಾಟ್ ಸರ್ವಿಸಬಲ್ ಅಟ್ ಆಲ್. ಮಲ್ಲೇಶ್ವರಂ ಪೊಲೀಸ್ ಸ್ಟೇಷನ್, ಮಲ್ಲೇಶ್ವರಂ KC ಜನರಲ್ ಹಾಸ್ಪಿಟಲ್ ಅಂಡ್ ರಾಜಾನಗರಕ್ಕೆ ಹೋಗೋರಲ್ಲ ಸರ್ವಿಸ್ ರೋಡಲ್ಲಿ ಬರಬೇಕಂತೆ. What a sin we have committed on Bangalore city, the aesthetics of Bangalore city. ಮೊನ್ನೆ ಪದ್ಮವಿಭೂಷಣ ಬಂದಾಗ SM ಕೃಷ್ಣ ಅವರಿಗೆ ನಾನು ಫೋನ್ ಮಾಡಿದೆ. ನಾನು ನೋಡಿದೆ 11:45 ನೋಡಿದೆ, 12:15 ಫೋನ್ ಮಾಡಿದೆ. ಯಾಕೆ ಫೋನ್ ತೊಗೊಂಡ್ರು ಅವರು? ಸರ್, ನೀವು ಉದ್ಯಾನ ನಗರಿಗೆ ನಮ್ಮ ಬೆಂಗಳೂರು ಅನ್ನೋ ಒಂದು ಬ್ರ್ಯಾಂಡ್ ಕೊಟ್ರಿ, ಒಂದು ಗ್ಲೋಬಲ್ ಬ್ರ್ಯಾಂಡ್ ಕೊಟ್ರಿ. ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ಬ್ಯಾಂಗ್ಳೂರ್ ಬಿಕೇಮ್ ಅ ಗ್ಲೋಬಲ್ ಡೆಸ್ಟಿನೇಷನ್ ಫಾರ್ ಇನ್ವೆಸ್ಟ್ಮೆಂಟ್ ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ಟೆಕ್ನಾಲಜಿ. ಪ್ರಪಂಚದ ಸುಮಾರು ಒಂದು 500 Fortune 500 ಕಂಪ್ನೀಸ್ ಎಲ್ಲ ಇಲ್ಲೇ ಬಂದ್ಬಿಟ್ಟು ಬೆಂಗಳೂರಲ್ಲಿ ತಳ ಊರಿದ್ರು. ಅದಷ್ಟೇ ಅಲ್ಲ, ಪ್ರಪಂಚದ ಯಾವುದೇ ರಾಷ್ಟ್ರದ ರಾಷ್ಟ್ರಪತಿ ಅಥವಾ ಪ್ರಧಾನಮಂತ್ರಿ ಭಾರತಕ್ಕೆ ಬಂದರೆ ಫಸ್ಟ್ ಲ್ಯಾಂಡಿಂಗ್ ವುಡ್ ಬಿ ಇನ್ ಬ್ಯಾಂಗ್ಳೂರ್. ದೇ ವುಡ್ ಫಸ್ಟ್ ಲ್ಯಾಂಡ್ ಇನ್ ಕೃಷ್ಣಾಸ್ ಕಿಂಗ್ಡಮ್ ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ಲೇಟರ್ ದೇ ಗೋ ಟು ಅಟಲ್ ಬಿಹಾರಿ ವಾಜಪೇಯಿ ಕಿಂಗ್ಡಮ್ ಇನ್ ಡೆಲ್ಲಿ. ವಾಜಪೇಯಿ ಅಂತ ವರ್ಚಸ್ವಿ ಪ್ರಧಾನಮಂತ್ರಿಯಲ್ಲಿದ್ದಾಗ ಕೂಡ ಅವ್ರು ಫಸ್ಟ್ ಬೆಂಗಳೂರಿಗೆ ಬಂದು ಮೊದಲ ತಂಗುದಾಣ ಬೆಂಗಳೂರು ಆಗ್ತಾಯಿತ್ತು, ಆಮೇಲೆ ದಿಲ್ಲಿಗೆ ಹೋಗ್ತಾಯಿದ್ರು. ಆ ಥರದ್ದು ವರ್ಚಸ್ ತಂದು ಕೊಟ್ರಿ. ಆಮೇಲೆ ಬೆಂಗಳೂರಿನಲ್ಲಿ ಬಂದಿಳಿದು ಇಲ್ಲಿ ನೆಲೆಸಿದಂಥ ತಂತ್ರಜ್ಞಾನಿಗಳು, ಇಂಜಿನಿಯರ್ಗಳು, ಚಿಂತಕರು ಅವ್ರನ್ನೆಲ್ಲ ಕರ್ಕೊಂಡು ನೀವು ಬೆಂಗಳೂರು ಅಜೆಂಡಾ ಟಾಸ್ಕ್ ಫೋರ್ಸ್ ಅಂತ ಮಾಡಿದರೆ. ಈ ಟ್ರೈ ಟು ಫಾರ್ಮಲಿ ಇನ್ವಾಲ್ವ್ ದ ಸೋ ಕಾಲ್ಡ್ ಸಿವಿಲ್ ಸೊಸೈಟಿ ಇನ್ ಗವರ್ನೆನ್ಸ್, ಅಡ್ಮಿನಿಸ್ಟ್ರೇಷನ್ ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ಡೆವಲಪ್ಮೆಂಟ್. ಅವಾಗ ನನಗೊಂಥರ ನಾವೆಲ್ಲ ಇನ್ನು ಸೋಷಿಯಲಿಸಮ್ ಗುಂಗಿನಲ್ಲಿದ್ವಿ. ಆ ಬೆಂಗಳೂರು ಅಜೆಂಡಾ ಟಾಸ್ಕ್ ಫೋರ್ಸ್ ತಾಲಿಬಾನ್ಗಳು ಅಂತ ನಾನೇ ಬರೆದಿದ್ದೆ ಬಿಫೋರ್ ರಿಯಲೈಸಿಂಗ್ ವಾಟ್ ದೇ ವರ್ ಗೋಯಿಂಗ್ ಟು ಡೂ. ಅಟ್ ಲೀಸ್ಟ್ ದೇ ಬ್ರಾಟ್ ಅಬೌಟ್ ಸಿ why I salute those corporate people is the most complex technologies, they brought those technologies and implemented here as if it is such a simple thing. And very ordinary things like a bus stop, city bus stop, or a public toilet. ಆ ನಿರ್ಮಲಾ ಬ್ಯಾಂಗ್ಳೂರು ₹1 ಒಂದು ಹೈ ಕ್ವಾಲಿಟಿ ಟಾಯ್ಲೆಟ್ ಮಾಡಿದರು. ಆಮೇಲೆ ಬಸ್ ಸ್ಟಾಪ್ಗಳ ಸುಂದರೀಕರಣ ಮಾಡಿಬಿಟ್ರು. ರಾತ್ರಿ ಹೊತ್ತು ಲೈಟೇ ಇರ್ತಿರಲಿಲ್ಲ. ಅಷ್ಟೇ ಅಲ್ಲ, ಒಂದು ಅಂದವಾದಲ್ಲಿ ಡಿಸ್ಪ್ಲೇ ಬೋರ್ಡ್ಸ್ ಇರ್ತಾ ಇತ್ತು, ಒಂದು ಲೈಟಿಂಗ್ ಬಂತು. ಅಷ್ಟೊತ್ತಿಗೆ ನಾವೆಲ್ಲ ಮಿಡಲ್ ಕ್ಲಾಸ್ ಆಗಿಬಿಟ್ಟಿದ್ವಿ. ನಾವೆಲ್ಲ ಪೋಸ್ಟ್ ಗ್ಲೋಬಲೈಸೇಷನ್ ಮಿಡಲ್ ಕ್ಲಾಸ್. ವಿ ಸ್ಟಾಪ್ಡ್ ಯೂಸಿಂಗ್ ಗೌರ್ಮೆಂಟ್ ಬಸ್ಸಸ್, ಗೌರ್ಮೆಂಟ್ ಹಾಸ್ಪಿಟಲ್ಸ್ ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ಗೌರ್ಮೆಂಟ್ ಸ್ಕೂಲ್ಸ್. ವಿ ಆಲ್ ಹ್ಯಾಡ್ ಅವರ್ ಓನ್ ಪ್ರೈವೇಟ್ ಟ್ರಾನ್ಸ್ಪೋರ್ಟ್. ನಮಗಿದು ಸಿಟಿ ಬಸ್ ಸ್ಟಾಪ್ ಹೆಂಗಿದ್ರೇನು, ಪಬ್ಲಿಕ್ ಟಾಯ್ಲೆಟ್ ಇದ್ರೇನು. ಯಾಕಂದ್ರೆ ಪಾದಚಾರಿಗಳಿಗೆ ಬಿಟ್ಬಿಟ್ವಿ ನಾವು. ವಿ ಸೀಸ್ ಟು ಬಿ ಪೆಡಿಸ್ಟ್ರೇನ್ಸ್. ಆನ್ ಮಲ್ಲೇಶ್ವರಂ ವಾಸ್ ನೋನ್ ಫಾರ್ ಇಟ್ಸ್ ಫುಟ್ಪಾತ್ಸ್. ವೇರ್ ಆರ್ ದೋಸ್ ಫುಟ್ಪಾತ್ಸ್ ಟುಡೇ ಇನ್ ಸಂಪಿಗೆ ರೋಡ್ ಆರ್ ಮಾರ್ಗೋಸೋ ರೋಡ್? ಎವ್ರಿ ಟೈಮ್ ದಟ್ ಫುಟ್ಪಾತ್ಸ್ ಇಸ್ ಡಗ್. ಪ್ರಹ್ಲಾದ್ ಅವ್ರು ಹೇಳಿದರು, ಹೌದು ನೀವು ಮಾಡಿದ್ರಿ, ನೀವು ಟೆಂಡರ್ ಶ್ಯೂರ್ ಪ್ರಾಜೆಕ್ಟ್ ಅಂದ್ಬಿಟ್ಟು ದೊಡ್ಡ ಫುಟ್ಪಾತ್ ಮಾಡೋಕೆ ಹೊರಟ್ರಿ. ಅದಕ್ಕೆ ಅಬ್ಜೆಕ್ಷನ್ ಬಂತು. ಫುಟ್ಪಾತ್ ಯಾಕೆ ದೊಡ್ಡದು, ನೃಪ್ತಂಗ ರೋಡಲ್ಲಿ ಫುಟ್ಪಾತ್ ಮಾಡಿದಾಗ ಇದೇ ಅಬ್ಜೆಕ್ಷನ್, ಯಾಕೆ ದೊಡ್ಡ ಫುಟ್ಪಾತ್ ಬೇಕಾಗಿತ್ತು ಅಂತ. Because middle class have stopped using footpaths. We are all owning not just one car, at least 3 cars per family. ಬಸ್ ಬಳಕೆದಾರರ ಸಂಘ. ನಾನು 74 ಇಂದ 80 I was a PhD scholar, research scholar in botany department of Central College. We used to take our students for compulsory botanical excursions every year to Tamil Nadu, most of the time Tamil Nadu. ನೀವು ಮಧುರೈಗೆ ಹೋಗಿ, ಕೊಯಂಬತ್ತೂರ್ಗೆ ಹೋಗಿ, ಮದ್ರಾಸ್ಗೆ ಹೋಗಿ, ಅಥವಾ ಯಾವುದೇ ಗ್ರಾಮಾಂತರ ಪ್ರದೇಶಕ್ಕೆ ಹೋಗಿ, 5 ನಿಮಿಷದಲ್ಲಿ ನಿಮ್ಗೆ ಯಾವ್ದಾದ್ರು ಒಂದು ಬಸ್ ಬಂದು ಪಿಕಪ್ ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಳ್ತಾ ಇತ್ತು. ವಿ ನೆವರ್ ಯೂಸ್ ಟು ಹೈರ್ ಎ ಕಾಂಟ್ರಾಕ್ಟ್ ಬಸ್ ಟು ಟೇಕ್ ಅಬೌಟ್ ಎ ಬ್ಯಾಚ್ ಆಫ್ 40 ಸ್ಟೂಡೆಂಟ್ಸ್ ಫಾರ್ ಅವರ್ ಬೊಟಾನಿಕಲ್ ಎಕ್ಸ್ಕರ್ಷನ್, ಬಿಕಾಸ್ ವಿ ಆರ್ ಸೋ ಶೂರ್ ಆಫ್ ಗೆಟಿಂಗ್ ಎ ಪಬ್ಲಿಕ್ ಟ್ರಾನ್ಸ್ಪೋರ್ಟ್ ಫೆಸಿಲಿಟಿ ಇನ್ ತಮಿಳ್ನಾಡು. ಆ ಕಾಲದಲ್ಲಿ ಡ್ಯಾಟ್ ಡಿಸೆಂಟ್ರಲೈಸ್ ದರ್ ಪಬ್ಲಿಕ್ ಟ್ರಾನ್ಸ್ಪೋರ್ಟ್ ಕಾರ್ಪೊರೇಷನ್. ಚೋಳನ್, ಚೇರನ್, ಪಲ್ಲವನ್, ಪಾಂಡ್ಯನ್ ಅಂತ 4 ಪಬ್ಲಿಕ್ ಟ್ರಾನ್ಸ್ಪೋರ್ಟ್ ಕಾರ್ಪೊರೇಷನ್ಸ್ ಇದ್ವು. ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ಸಚ್ ಪ್ಯಾಸೆಂಜರ್ ಫ್ರೆಂಡ್ಲಿ ಬಿಹೇವಿಯರ್. ದ ಕಂಡಕ್ಟರ್ ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ದ ಡ್ರೈವರ್ ಯೂಸ್ ಟು ಬಿ ಸೋ ಫ್ರೆಂಡ್ಲಿ. ನಮ್ಮ ಕೈ ತೋರಿಸಿದ್ರೆ ಎಲ್ಲೋ ನಿಂತ್ಬಿಡ್ತಾ ಇತ್ತು. ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ಫಾರ್ ಪ್ಲಾಂಟ್ ಕಲೆಕ್ಷನ್ಸ್ ವಿ ಯೂಸ್ ಟು ಗೋ ಇನ್ ಟು ದ ವೈಲ್ಡ್. ಈವನ್ ಇನ್ ದೋಸ್ ಪ್ಲೇಸಸ್ ಇನ್ 5 minutes ವಿ ಆರ್ ಅಶ್ಯೂರ್ಡ್ ಆಫ್ ಗೆಟಿಂಗ್ ಅ ಬಸ್. ಆ ಥರದ ಆಲ್ಟರ್ನೇಟಿವ್ ಮಾಡೆಲ್ ಏನಾಯಿತು, 83ನಲ್ಲಿ ನಮ್ಮ ಸರ್ಕಾರ ಬಂತು, ಮಿಡಲ್ ಕ್ಲಾಸ್ ಸರ್ಕಾರ ಬಂತು, ರಾಮಕೃಷ್ಣ ಹೆಗಡೆ ಅವ್ರ ಸರ್ಕಾರ. ನಮ್ಮ ಫ್ರೆಂಡು, ರೈಟರ್ ಫ್ರೆಂಡ್, ಇಂಟೆಲೆಕ್ಚುವಲ್ ಫ್ರೆಂಡ್ MP ಪ್ರಕಾಶ್ ಬಿಕೇಮ್ ಮಿನಿಸ್ಟರ್ ಆಫ್ ಸ್ಟೇಟ್ ಫಾರ್ ಟ್ರಾನ್ಸ್ಪೋರ್ಟ್. ನಾನು ಹೇಳಿದೆ, ನೀವು ಒಂದು ರೌಂಡ್ ತಮಿಳ್ನಾಡಿಗೆ ಹೋಗಿ ಬನ್ನಿ, ನಿಮ್ಮ VIP ಕಾರ್ ಬಿಟ್ಟು, ಮಂತ್ರಿ ಕಾರ್ ಬಿಟ್ಟು ಸುಮ್ಮನೆ ಬಸ್ಸಲ್ಲಿ ಓಡ್ಕೊಂಡು ಬನ್ನಿ, ನಿಮ್ಗೆ ಗೊತ್ತಾಗುತ್ತೆ ಏನು ವ್ಯತ್ಯಾಸ ಅಂತ. ಹೌದನ್ರಿ, ನೋಡ್ತೀನಿ ಬಿಡ್ರಿ ಅಂದ್ಬಿಟ್ಟು ನೆವರ್ ವೆಂಟ್. ಆಮೇಲೆ PGR ಸಿಂಧ್ಯಾ ಅವರು ಟ್ರಾನ್ಸ್ಪೋರ್ಟ್ ಮಿನಿಸ್ಟರ್, ಅವ್ರಿಗೂ ಅದನ್ನ ಹೇಳಿದೆ, ತಮಿಳ್ನಾಡಲ್ಲಿ ನೋಡ್ಕೊಂಬನ್ನಿ, ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಎಷ್ಟು ಚೆನ್ನಾಗಿದೆ ಅಂತ. ಇನ್ನು ಎಲ್ಲೂ ಬೇಡ, ದಕ್ಷಿಣ ಕನ್ನಡಕ್ಕೆ ಹೋಗಿ ಬನ್ನಿ. ದಕ್ಷಿಣ ಕನ್ನಡ ಲುಕ್ಸ್ ಲೈಕ್ ಅ ಫಾರಿನ್ ಕಂಟ್ರಿ. ಐ ಸ್ಪೆಂಡ್ 24 days in Mangalore University campus for my refresher course, UGC refresher course. We never felt the need for a private transport at all. There are competing private bus companies which take care of city transport. From Mangalore to Udupi to Manipal, it is so easy to get a bus. In 5 minutes you get a bus. ಮಂಗಳೂರಲ್ಲಿ ನಿಮ್ಗೊಂದು ಕೊಡೆ ಮತ್ತು ರೇನಿ ಫುಟ್ವೇರ್ ಇದ್ಬಿಟ್ರೆ ಸಾಕು, ಇಡೀ ಪ್ರಪಂಚ ಕಾಂಕರ್ ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಂಬರ್ಬೋದು ದಕ್ಷಿಣ ಕನ್ನಡದಲ್ಲಿ. ವೈ ವಿ ಡಿಡ್ ನಾಟ್ ಎಮ್ಯುಲೇಟ್ ದಟ್ ಮಾಡೆಲ್? ಬೆಂಗಳೂರಲ್ಲಿ ಆ ಥರದ ಪ್ರಯತ್ನನೇ ಮಾಡಲಿಲ್ಲ ನಾವು. ಪಬ್ಲಿಕ್ ಟ್ರಾನ್ಸ್ಪೋರ್ಟ್ನ ವ್ಯವಸ್ಥಿತವಾಗಿ ನೆಗ್ಲೆಕ್ಟ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಬಂದ್ವಿ. ಬ್ರ್ಯಾಂಡೆಡ್ ಕಾರ್ಗಳನ್ನ ತಗೊಂಡು ನಾವೆಲ್ಲ ನಮ್ಮ ಪ್ರತಿಷ್ಠೆ ಮೆರೀತಾ ಬಂದ್ವಿ. ಇದು ಮಧ್ಯಮ ವರ್ಗದ ಉತ್ಕರ್ಷ ಮತ್ತು ಸೋಲು ಕೂಡ. ಅವರು ಹೇಳಿದರು ಡಿಫೈನಿಂಗ್ ಮೊಮೆಂಟ್ ಅಂತ. ನಮ್ಮ ಲಾಯರ್ ಹೇಳಿದರು, ಹರೀಶ್, ನನ್ನ ಸ್ಟೂಡೆಂಟ್ ಆಗಿದ್ರಂತೆ PUCನಲ್ಲಿ. ನಾನು 13 ವರ್ಷದಲ್ಲಿದ್ದಾಗ ಬೆಂಗಳೂರಿಗೆ ಬಂದಾಗ 68 ಆಗಿದೆ. ನನ್ನ ಕಾಲು ಕೈ ಕೊಟ್ಟಿದೆ ಕಳೆದ 7 ತಿಂಗಳಿಂದ. ಐ ಆಮ್ ಸ್ಟ್ರಕ್ ವಿತ್ ಆರ್ಥೈಟಿಸ್. ಐ ಆಮ್ ನಾಟ್ ಏಬಲ್ ಟು ಸ್ಟ್ಯಾಂಡ್ ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ವಾಕ್ ವಿತ್ ದ ಸೇಮ್ ಸ್ಪೀಡ್. ಬಟ್ ಬ್ಯಾಂಗ್ಳೂರ್ ಹ್ಯಾಸ್ ಗೋನ್ ಸೋ ಸ್ಪೀಡಿಲಿ. ಬೆಂಗಳೂರಿನಲ್ಲಿ ಭಾರತದ ಅತ್ಯುತ್ಕೃಷ್ಟ ವ್ಯಕ್ತಿಗಳೆಲ್ಲ ಇದ್ದಾರೆ. ಅತ್ಯಂತ ಸರ್ವಶ್ರೇಷ್ಠ ವಿಜ್ಞಾನಿಗಳು, ತಂತ್ರಜ್ಞಾನಿಗಳು, ಮ್ಯಾನೇಜ್ಮೆಂಟ್ ತಜ್ಞರು ಎಲ್ಲರೂ ಇದ್ದಾರೆ. ದ ಬೆಸ್ಟ್ ಬ್ರೈನ್ಸ್ ಇನ್ ದ ಕಂಟ್ರಿ, ದೇ ಹ್ಯಾವ್ ಆಲ್ ಮೇಡ್ ಬ್ಯಾಂಗ್ಳೂರ್ ದೇರ್ ಹೋಮ್. And we have a civil society and an uncivilized governance, uncivil government. ನಾವು ನೋಡಿ, ಎಲೆಕ್ಷನ್ ಹತ್ರ ಬರ್ತಾ ಇದೆ. ನೀವು ನೋಡ್ತಿದ್ದೀರಾ, ನೀವು ಸ್ಟೀಲ್ ಬ್ರಿಡ್ಜ್ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ಹೋರಾಟ ಮಾಡಿದಾಗಲೂ ಅಷ್ಟೇ, ಈಗ ಸ್ಯಾಂಕಿ ಫ್ಲೈಓವರ್ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ಹೋರಾಟ ಮಾಡುವಾಗಲೂ ಅಷ್ಟೇ, 3 ರಾಜಕೀಯ ಪಕ್ಷಗಳು ಕಾರ್ಯಕರ್ತರಾಗಲಿ ನಾಯಕರು ಯಾರೂ ಬಾಯ್ ಬಿಡ್ತಾ ಇಲ್ಲ. ದೇ ಆಲ್ವೇಸ್ ಮೇಂಟೈನ್ ಸ್ಟಡೀಡ್ ಸೈಲೆನ್ಸ್. ಸಿವಿಲ್ ಗ್ರೂಪ್ನವ್ರು ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಳ್ಳಿ. ಏನು ಡೆಲ್ಲಿನಲ್ಲಿ ಆಗಿದ್ರೆ ನಿಮಗೆಲ್ಲ ಖಾನ್ ಮಾರ್ಕೆಟ್ ಗ್ಯಾಂಗ್ ಅಂತ ಏನೋ ಅಂತ ಇದ್ರು. ಇದು ಮಲ್ಲೇಶ್ವರಂ ಬಸವನಗುಡಿ ಗ್ಯಾಂಗ್. ಅವ್ರ ಕೆಲಸ ಇರಲ್ಲ, ಅವ್ರು ಇದನ್ನು ಮಾಡ್ತಿರ್ತಾರೆ ಅಂತ ಅಂದ್ಕೊಂಡಿರ್ತಾರೆ. ಬಿಕಾಸ್ ರೀಸೆಂಟ್ಲಿ ವಿ ಹ್ಯಾವ್ ಲಾಸ್ಟ್ ಅ ಬ್ಯಾಟಲ್. ಯು ವಾಂಟೆಡ್ ಟು ಪ್ರಿಸರ್ವ್ ಬಾಲಬ್ರೂಯಿ ಗೆಸ್ಟ್ ಹೌಸ್ ಆಸ್ ಎ ಹೆರಿಟೇಜ್ ಬಿಲ್ಡಿಂಗ್. ನೋ, ಕೋರ್ಟ್ ಹ್ಯಾಸ್ ರೂಲ್ಡ್ ಇನ್ ಫೇವರ್ ಆಫ್ ಮೇಕಿಂಗ್ ಇಟ್ ಎ ಕಾನ್ಸ್ಟಿಟ್ಯೂಷನ್ ಕ್ಲಬ್. ಇಟ್ಸ್ ನಾಟ್ ಫಾರ್ ಸ್ಟಡಿ ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ರಿಸರ್ಚ್ ಇನ್ ಕಾನ್ಸ್ಟಿಟ್ಯೂಷನ್. ಇಟ್ಸ್ ಎ ಮೆರಿ ಮೇಕಿಂಗ್ ಕ್ಲಬ್ ಫಾರ್ ದಿ ಲೆಜಿಸ್ಲೇಟರ್ಸ್. They want to have a legislature. They have now decided. Court has also approved it. And nobody has the energy now to take the issue to Supreme Court and again continue the battle. ಅಂದರೆ ಪ್ರಭುತ್ವ ಪ್ರಜೆಗಳಿಗಿಂತ ಅಷ್ಟು ಬಲಿಷ್ಠವಾಗಿದೆ. ನೀವು ಡಿಫೈನಿಂಗ್ ಇಯರ್ 1993 ಅಂದರೆ ಅಲ್ಲ, 1993 who was the inspiration for that 1974 constitutional amendment which was passed during, which was conceived by Rajiv Gandhi, but it was passed during Mr. P.V. Narasimha Rao's time. It was none other than Abdul Nazir Saab who was the inspiration for that constituent amendment bill. ನನಗೆ ಇವತ್ತು ನೆನಪಿದೆ, ಕರ್ನಾಟಕದ ಪಂಚಾಯತ್ ರಾಜ್ ಕಾನೂನು ಪಾಸ್ ಆಯಿತು. ಅರಮನೆ ಮೈದಾನದಲ್ಲಿ 57,000 ಜನ ಎಲೆಕ್ಟೆಡ್ ರೆಪ್ರೆಸೆಂಟೇಟಿವ್ಸ್ ಬಂದರು. ಎ 2-tier ಸಿಸ್ಟಮ್, ಜಿಲ್ಲಾ ಪರಿಷತ್, ಮಂಡಲ್ ಪಂಚಾಯತ್ ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ಗ್ರಾಮ ಸಭಾ. And Grama Sabha was the ultimate utopia of Panchayat Raj system in Nazir Saab's act. Grama Sabha means every registered voter of the village is member of the Gram Sabha. Every 6 months, the elected officers of the Mandal Panchayat should call a meeting of the Gram Sabha, present their progress report, and take questions from them, convince them about their activity. So decentralization of planning and development, Karnataka was a model, Nazir Saab's act. Then what happened? Rajiv Gandhi heard Nazir Saab's views. He called him for a breakfast meeting and said, can we do something at the national level? Nazir Saab gave him tips regarding how to go about it. Next year, he fell ill. He was struck with lung cancer. He was nursing his cancer in Crescent House. Today's Judicial Academy was then the residence of the Rural Development Minister. He was reeling under the side effects of chemotherapy. Rajiv Gandhi sent 2 of his dearest colleagues, Mani Shankar Iyer and Salman Khurshid, came to Nazir Saab residence. He was lying in his bed. He was a cancer patient in the 4th degree. And they took dictation for 4 days. They stayed in Bengaluru for 4 days. And whenever he would feel comfortable, he would give them some dictation. So the draft of the 74th Amendment Constitution was prepared in Karnataka, in Bengaluru, under the guidance of Nazir Saab. And the Jilla Parishad Nazir Saab created were so powerful. The Jilla Parishad Adhyaksha had the status of a minister of state. Upadhyaksha had the status of a deputy minister. And the so-called CEO of Jilla Parishad, he was known as Chief Secretary Jilla Parishad. A divisional commissioner rank officer was Chief Secretary Jilla Parishad. Even ministers and MLAs of that district, they used to attend the Jilla Parishad meeting as ordinary members. That's why the manifesto prepared by Nazir Saab in 1983 for their Janata Ranga, the caption was power to the people, Janatage Adhikara. And literally he implemented it and showed it to the rest of the country. So Karnataka showed the model as to what is power to the people. And today's civil society, I think, Prakash, most important, more than this flyover or the steel bridge, the most important demand should be what kind of leadership we want in Mahanagarpalika. We should ask political party, what kind of material you are bringing in into the arena, into the election arena as your candidates. Most of them are partially educated or uneducated. Most of them have criminal backgrounds. Most of them are products of underworld mafia. We still tolerate them. ಅವರು ಕಾರ್ಪೊರೇಟರ್ಗಳಾಗಿ ಬರ್ತಾರೆ, ಅವರು ಪೂಜ್ಯ ಮಹಾಪೌರರಾಗ್ತಾರೆ, ಆಮೇಲೆ ಅವ್ರ ಟೆನ್ಯೂರ್ ಕೂಡ 1 ವರ್ಷ ಇರುತ್ತೆ. ವಾಟ್ ಇಸ್ ದ ಕ್ವಾಲಿಟಿ ಆಫ್ ಲೀಡರ್ಶಿಪ್? ಡೂ ವಿ ಡಿಸರ್ವ್ this material as our leadership? How can governance improve without quality leadership? See, if Arvind Kejriwal can bring about that revolution in Delhi, why not in Bangalore? We should try to address this issue. What kind of representative should be there in Mahanagarpalika, Brahat Bengaluru Mahanagarpalika? And even if an election is held, these governments are so scared. See, in Gulbarga and Belgaum, elections were held two years back. Even today, they have not elected mayor and deputy mayor because they are afraid of losing power. They have clear majority in Belgaum, they don't conduct mayor's election. So that's how decentralized administration has been weakened. People's power, they have become cynical and skeptical about civil society struggles. But still, I pray that politics of struggle should prevail over this politics of power. And our Ashwatharana, till the other day, he was our next door boy. He used to be a neighborhood guy here. But what we see at Sankey Flyover alla, a Sankey walking path ide alla. How many times it has been dismantled and reconstructed? Dismantled, reconstructed. ನಾನು ವಿವರಗಳಿಗೆ ಹೋಗಲಿಲ್ಲ. ಒಟ್ಟಾರೆ ರಾಜಕೀಯ ವಾತಾವರಣದಲ್ಲಿ ಈ ಥರದ ರಚನಾತ್ಮಕ ಸರ್ಕಾರದ ಕಾಮಗಾರಿಗಳು ಅಂತ ಏನಿದಾರಲ್ಲ, ಆ ಕಾಮಗಾರಿಗಳು ಕೂಡ ಕೆಟ್ಟ ಹೆಸರು ಪಡ್ಕೊಂಡ್ಬಿಟ್ಟು ಇಡೀ ರಾಷ್ಟ್ರದಲ್ಲಿ ಕರ್ನಾಟಕ ಹ್ಯಾಸ್ ಟುಡೇ ಬಿಕಮ್ ಫೇಮಸ್ ಫಾರ್ 40% commission. We should get over that label. We should remove that label by bringing in, you know, good, eligible, people-friendly representative. Enlightened leadership is necessary for Brahat Bengaluru Mahanagara Palke. Avag ನಿಮ್ಮ civil society movement becomes a political movement. Thank you.
It seems to be my fate to cut short, popular presentations, but I think we have run out of time. But can we read a summary of the questions that are there? I think most of them have been answered, but 1 second. I'll just go through that list first and then we'll do this, okay? Yeah. Just show me, you gave me that list, no?
We are also asking the same question.
So these are the questions that are there. What are the alternative solutions studied by BBMP? I think we'll start with that. Have any alternative solutions been studied, sir? Would like to talk? So I'll read the set of questions so you can answer together that thing, okay? DPR shows only 3 options, all of which include the flyover. Was any input sought or received from DULT, traffic police, general public? Possible solutions to study signal synchronization, traffic diversion via Makery Circle, better public transport, and all the other solutions that have been talked about here, have they been taken into consideration? Any study of composition of traffic at Basham Circle, example, how much of it is through traffic? DPR also shows that north-south traffic is double the east-west traffic. Are these numbers reliable? Kaveri, okay, one set. Okay, you can just talk this. I'll just go through these questions and then.
ಮೊದಲನೇದಾಗಿ ಫ್ಲೈಓವರ್ಸು ಬಗ್ಗೆ ಒಂದು ಇಂಪಾರ್ಟೆಂಟ್ ಪಾಯಿಂಟ್ ಹೇಳಿದ್ರು, ಅದನ್ನು ನಾನು ಓದ್ತೀನಿ. ಫ್ಲೈಓವರ್ಸ್ ಡು ನಾಟ್ ಸಾಲ್ವ್ ಟ್ರಾಫಿಕ್ ಕಂಜೆಷನ್, ರಾದರ್ ದ್ಯಾನ್ ಶಿಫ್ಟ್ ದಿ ಪಾಯಿಂಟ್ ಆನ್ ಟ್ರಾಫಿಕ್ ಆಫ್ ಟ್ರಾಫಿಕ್ ಕಂಜೆಷನ್ ಅಂತ. ಅಂದರೆ ಟ್ರಾಫಿಕ್ ಒಂದು ಕಡೆಯಿಂದ ಫ್ಲೈಓವರ್ ಮಾಡಿದ್ರೆ ಇನ್ನೊಂದು ಕಡೆಗೆ ಸಿಕ್ಕಾಕ್ಕೊಳ್ತಾರೆ ಅಂತ. Have anybody traveled from KR Puram to Hebbal flyover? I think the majority, 90 to 98% must have traveled from KR Puram to Hebbal flyover. So, in that, we have a series of flyovers. We have series of flyovers from Tin Factory, Kyarpuram to Hebbal. So, the travel time, I think everybody must have experienced. So, I do agree, if we don't have a series of flyovers, then we will be stuck, we may pass over. ನಾನು ಅದಕ್ಕೆ ಹೇಳಿದ್ದು, ಯಾರು I am giving an example and telling you. ಹಾಗಾಗಿ ಒಂದೇ ಒಂದು ಫ್ಲೈಓವರ್ ಮಾಡಿದ್ರೆ ನಿಜ, ಇನ್ನೊಂದು ಕಡೆ ಹೋಗಿ ಸ್ಟಕಪ್ ಆಗ್ತೀವಿ. ಆದರೆ ಪ್ಲ್ಯಾಂಡ್ ಆಗಿ ಒಂದು ಕಡೆಯಿಂದ ಇನ್ನೊಂದು ಕಡೆ ಫ್ಲೈಓವರ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಹೋದಾಗ ಸಿಟಿ ವಿಲ್ ಡೆಫಿನೆಟ್ಲಿ ಇಂಪ್ರೂವೈಸ್. ಎರಡನೇದು,
everyone stop guys.
ಎರಡನೇ
Sir, no, 1 second. Everyone stop.
This is, look, this becomes unruly. This is what I'm trying to say. No, this is what it is. It cannot be see, there was 1 second. Sir, let me make 3 statements and I'll tell you. No, the issues that have been raised here cannot be answered by Mr. Prahalad alone. And there is no point, ranting at me. I can't do anything. My point, listen, but listen to, look, you have to let me speak. Will you let me speak? Otherwise, no, look, the thing is, it's easy to abandon this, okay? Just let me speak for 2-3 sentences. You can't resolve everything here. If everybody wants to say, have a say, there is no time. Maybe we can meet again for it then. If everyone will speak for a limited time, we can do it. I think we have to abandon this question answer thing with Mr. Prahalad, because really there's no point to it, okay? See, I'm going to give the mic back to, to the organizers with this bit of advice, because I don't want to come back again and try to control this. See, look, you can't get answers for everything now. You can ask a simple question and it should be answered in 25 words. That's it. Otherwise, it won't work. I'm telling you, like long drawn things cannot be done. Basic purpose has been served. Everybody is more aware of it. We know that there are better solutions than this. I think we are all agreed on that. But how to go further about this is what really you all should concentrate on. Not to corner anybody, because you won't get anything out of this.
Okay, yeah. We have. Yeah. Yeah. Okay, we have one. Yeah. We have a question from the press. 1 second.
Sir, I wanted. So we have talked about the. So we have talked about the traffic situation and the road congestion, but what about the ecological factors? Because we know that that area is densely populated with trees, and then there's Sankey Tank. How will that affect? How will the ecology be affected via this project?
Yeah, it's a very good question you are asking. See, we need to strike a balance between ecological concerns and also the transport and the mobility issues. So a sustained development is very important in this factor. So how we have to address these problems will be taken through our experts. The experts will definitely suggest us how to balance these ecological factors and the mobility issues. So we are not one-sided, we are open to the suggestions. We will definitely carry your point of ecological balancing and definitely take everything forward. As we say, we are not only concerned with the one factor of ecology, but also we have to have a larger picture of the congestion being caused in the city due to the overgrowth of population. We cannot tell somebody to, we cannot push some people away from Bengaluru, or we cannot avoid people buying cars also. But yes, BBMP is coming out with some plans. The plans are to disincentivize. We are taking up the parking on-street parking. So we are trying to make on-street parking, it's a payable parking, so that it is not that we collect money, but we have to disincentivize the people using the cars. As Ashish Verma was telling, Ashish Verma, I don't know, I think 90...
Traffic jam ಆಗ್ತದೆ.
Oh,
Flavor
okay.
ಬಗ್ಗೆ.
92%, sir was telling, Prakash Balwade sir was telling, 92% of the cars are being unused in this city. That we will definitely do it.
ಸರ್ ಹಲೋ, ಇವಾಗ BBMPಯಲ್ಲಿ
1 minute. Let him answer. 1 ನಿಮಿಷ ಅವರು. Let him answer.
ಅಲ್ಲ, ತಮ್ಮ ಹೆಸರು ಸರ್? ರವೀಂದ್ರ ಪ್ರಸಾದ್ ಅವರೇ, ಮೊದಲನೇದಾಗಿ ನೀವು ಗಟ್ಟಿಗೆ ಹೇಳಿದ್ರು ಅದೇ ಸಬ್ಜೆಕ್ಟೇ, ಮೆತ್ತಗೆ ಹೇಳಿದ್ರು ಸಬ್ಜೆಕ್ಟೇ, ಎಮೋಷನಲ್ ಆಗಿ ಮಾತಾಡಿದ್ರು ಅದೇ ಸಬ್ಜೆಕ್ಟೇ, ಎಮೋಷನ್ ಆಗಿಲ್ದಾಗೆ ತಣ್ಣಗೆ ಹೇಳಿದ್ರು ಅದೇ ಸಬ್ಜೆಕ್ಟೇ. ತಾವು ಪ್ರಶ್ನೆ ಕೇಳಬೇಕಾಗಿದ್ದು.
Sir, I think what the answer is, they are asking the question.
ಮೊದಲನೇದಾಗಿ ರವೀಂದ್ರ ಮೊದಲನೇದಾಗಿ ಪ್ರಸಾದ್ ಅವರ
ನೀವು ನೋಡಿ, we'll have to ask you to leave.
ಎಸ್ ಮೇಡಮ್, ಮೊದಲನೇದಾಗಿ 2 ಪ್ರಶ್ನೆ ಕೇಳಿದ್ದಾರೆ ಅವರು. ಮೊದಲನೇದಾಗಿ ಏನು ಮ್ಯಾಜಿಕ್ ಬಾಕ್ಸ್ ಅಂತ ಏನು ಕರೀತಾ ಇದ್ದಾರೆ, ಒಂದು 2010ನೇ ಇಸ್ವಿಯಲ್ಲಿ ಒಂದು ಸಿಸ್ಟಮ್ ಮಾಡಿದ್ದಾರೆ. ಡೆಫಿನೆಟ್ಲಿ ಅವರ ಕನ್ಸರ್ನ್ಸು ನಾವು ಅರ್ಥ ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಂಡಿದ್ದೀವಿ. ಮತ್ತು ರವೀಂದ್ರ ಇವರು ನಮ್ಮ ಆಶೀಶ್ ವರ್ಮಾ ಅವರು ತೋರಿಸಿದ್ದಾರೆ. ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಇಲ್ಲಿಂದ ಪಾಸ್ ಆಗಿದ್ದ ವೆಹಿಕಲ್ಲು ಏನು ಇದೆ ಇವಾಗ ಕ್ಯೂಯಿಂಗ್ ಅಪ್ ಅಂತ ಏನು ಕರಿತೀವಿ, ದಟ್ ಕ್ಯೂಯಿಂಗ್ ಅಪ್ ವಿಲ್ ಡೆಫಿನೆಟ್ಲಿ ಇನ್ಕ್ರೀಸ್. ಅದು ನಾವು ಒಪ್ಕೊಳ್ತೀವಿ. ಯಾಕೆಂದರೆ ಈಗ ಸ್ಯಾಂಕಿ ಜಂಕ್ಷನಿಂದ ದಾಟದ ಮೇಲೆ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಹೋಗಿ ಕ್ಯೂಯಿಂಗ್ ಅಪ್ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ. ದಟ್ ಪಾಯಿಂಟ್ ನಾವು ಅದನ್ನು ನಮ್ಮ ಮನಸ್ಸಿನಲ್ಲಿದೆ. ಅದಕ್ಕೆ ಯಾವ ಸೊಲ್ಯೂಷನ್ ಮಾಡಬೇಕು ಅನ್ನೋದನ್ನು ನಾವು ಅದ್ರ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ಕನ್ಸರ್ನ್ಸ್ ಇಟ್ಕೊಂಡಿದ್ದೀವಿ. ಒಂದನೇದು. ಎರಡನೇದು ಟ್ರಾಫಿಕ್ ಪ್ಲ್ಯಾನ್ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ಅವರು ಕೇಳಿದ್ದಾರೆ. ಹೇಗೆ ಕನ್ಸ್ಟ್ರಕ್ಷನ್ ಮಾಡ್ತೀರಾ? 2 ವರ್ಷ ಟೈಮ್ ಇದೆ. 2 ವರ್ಷದ ತನಕ ವಾಟ್ ಈಸ್ ಯುವರ್ ಟ್ರಾಫಿಕ್ ಡೈವರ್ಷನ್ ಪ್ಲ್ಯಾನ್ಸ್ ಅಂತ. ಡೆಫಿನೆಟ್ಲಿ ಇಟ್ಸ್ ಆಲ್ ಸಿಟಿಸನ್ ಸೆಂಟ್ರಿಕ್ ಅಂತಲೇ ನಾವು ಕರಿತೀವಿ. ವಿ ವಿಲ್ ಡೆಫಿನೆಟ್ಲಿ ಹ್ಯಾವ್ ಸಮ್ ಫಸ್ಟು ವೈಡ್ನಿಂಗ್ ಅಂತ ಏನು ಕರಿತೀವಿ, ಆ ವೈಡ್ನಿಂಗ್ ಅನ್ನೋ ಕಾಮಗಾರಿನ ಮುಗಿಸ್ಕೊಂಡು ಯಾವ ರೀತಿಯಲ್ಲಿ ನಾವು ಪ್ರಾಜೆಕ್ಟ್ನ ಇಂಪ್ಲಿಮೆಂಟ್ ಮಾಡಬೇಕು, ಆ ಇಂಪ್ಲಿಮೆಂಟೇಷನ್ ಪ್ಲ್ಯಾನ್ ಅಂತ ಏನಿದೆ, ಡೆಫಿನೆಟ್ಲಿ ವಿ ವಿಲ್ ವರ್ಕ್ ಆನ್ ದಟ್. ಅವರ 2 ಕನ್ಸರ್ನ್ಸು ಐ ಹ್ಯಾವ್ ಅಗ್ರೀಡ್.
One of the things I think we've covered most of. I think we know all the questions that are in our mind and they have been unanswered. Sir, we just want to know, in this convention we have come up. 1 minute, please. Uma, if you can just stay for 2 minutes. I think everybody is a bit disappointed because we haven't got answers. 1 minute, sir. 1 minute. We all have questions that have not been answered.
It cannot be answered here,
yes.
I think. Yeah.
So I'm just saying, I'm asking a question to Mr. Prahlad on behalf of all of us, that we have come up with, we have shown you what the alternate solutions can be. We have made presentations. We have brought in experts. Will you rethink this project? Because we as citizens do not believe this is of any solution to us. Are you willing to rethink it today?
ಸರ್, ನಾನು ಬೇರೆ ಥರ ಹೇಳ್ತೀನಿ. ಅವ್ರು ಇಲ್ಲೆಲ್ಲ ನೀವು ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಅವರು ಪ್ರೆಸೆಂಟೇಷನ್ಸು, ಎಕ್ಸ್ಪರ್ಟ್ ಒಪಿನಿಯನ್ನು, ಎಲ್ಲರ ಅಭಿಪ್ರಾಯ ಕೇಳಿ ಇಲ್ಲಿರೋ ಮೂಡನ್ನು ನೋಡಿ ನೀವು ಸರ್ಕಾರಕ್ಕೆ ದಯವಿಟ್ಟು ಹೋಗಿ ಹೇಳಿ, ಇದು ಪಾಪ್ಯುಲರ್ ಇಲ್ಲ, ಇದು ರ್ಯಾಷನಲ್ ಇಲ್ಲ, ಅವೈಜ್ಞಾನಿಕ ಅಂತ ನೀವು ಹೇಳೋಕ್ಕೆ ತಯಾರಿದ್ದೀರಾ ಅಂತ ಕೇಳ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದಾರೆ.
ಟೆಕ್ನಿಕಲ್ ಕ್ವೆಶ್ಚನ್ ಆಮೇಲೆ. ಇವಾಗ ಟೆಕ್ನಿಕಲ್ ಕ್ವೆಶ್ಚನ್ ಮುಂದೆ ಬೇಸಿಕ್ ಕ್ವೆಶ್ಚನ್ ಇದೆ, ಇದು ಬೇಕಾ ಅಂತ. ಬೇಸಿಕ್ ಕ್ವೆಶ್ಚನ್. So sir, will you answer this? Will you rethink this project? Because we have a large citizens movement representing 25,000 people. Few people may be here, but we are 25,000 people and more signing the petition. And 25,000 families, you're right. So will you rethink this project today? And will you come back with alternative solutions for us? Is our question today.
ಒಳ್ಳೆ ಪ್ರಶ್ನೆಗಳು ಕೇಳಿದ್ದಾರೆ. ಇದು ಅಬೌಟ್ ದಿ ಪ್ರಾಜೆಕ್ಟ್ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ಕೇಳ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದಾರೆ. ಈ ಪ್ರಾಜೆಕ್ಟ್ಗೆ ಈಗಾಗಲೇ ಹಲವಾರು ಒಪಿನಿಯನ್ಸು, ಹಲವಾರು ಸಜೆಷನ್ಸು, ಮತ್ತು ಏನು ಮೊಡಾಲಿಟೀಸ್ ಅಂತ ಏನು ಕರಿತೀವಿ, ಅದೆಲ್ಲ ಇಟ್ ಹ್ಯಾಸ್ ಅಂಡರ್ಗಾನ್ ದೋಸ್ ಥಿಂಗ್ಸ್. ಅಲ್ಲಿಗೂ ಇವತ್ತು ತಮ್ಮ ಎಲ್ಲರೂ ಸೇರಿದ್ದೀರಾ, ಇದ್ರ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ಯಾವ ರೀತಿಯಲ್ಲಿ ರೂಪರೇಷೆ ಕೊಡ್ತೀರಾ ಅಂತ. ಡೆಫಿನೆಟ್ಲಿ ಅವರು ಒಂದು ಕೇಳ್ತಾ ಇದ್ರು, ಹೇಗೆ ಕನ್ಸ್ಟ್ರಕ್ಷನ್ ಮಾಡ್ತೀರಾ, ಆ ಪ್ಲ್ಯಾನ್ನ ತೊಗೊಳ್ತೀವಿ. ನಿಮ್ಮ ಸಜೆಷನ್ಸ್ನ ಒಂದು ರೈಟಿಂಗಲ್ಲಿ ಮಾಡಿಕೊಟ್ಟು ಅದಕ್ಕೆ ನಾವು ಯಾವ ರೀತಿಯಲ್ಲಿ ನಿಮ್ಮ ಇದಕ್ಕೆ ಏನು ಸಲಹೆಗಳು ಮತ್ತು ನಿಮ್ಮ ಅನಿಸಿಕೆಗಳಿದೆ, ಅದಕ್ಕೆ ಡೆಫಿನೆಟ್ಲಿ ನಾವು ಉತ್ತರ ಕೊಡಲೇಬೇಕಾಗ್ತದೆ, ಕೊಡ್ತೀವಿ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ತಾ ನಾನು ಮಾತು ಮುಗಿಸ್ತೀನಿ. ನಮ್ಗೆಲ್ಲರಿಗೂ ತೊಂದರೆ ಆಗೋದ ರೀತಿಯಲ್ಲಿ ಒಂದು ನಗರ ಕಟ್ಟೋಣ. ಇನ್ನೊಂದು ವಿಚಾರ ತಿಳ್ಕೊಬೇಕು, ನಾವು ಸರ್ಕಾರದ ನೌಕರರಾಗಿದ್ದರೂ ಸಹಿತ ನಾವು ಈ ಬೆಂಗಳೂರು ಕನ್ಸ್ಯೂಮರ್ಸು ಆಗಿದ್ದೀವಿ. ಸೊ ಹಾಗಾಗಿ ನಾವು ಕನ್ಸ್ಯೂಮರ್ಸ್ ಆಗಿದ್ದು ನಮ್ಮ ನಗರನ ನಾವು ಹಾಳು ಮಾಡ್ಲಿಕ್ಕೆ ಇಷ್ಟ ಇಲ್ಲ. ನಾನು ಮಾಸ್ಟರ್ಸ್ ಇನ್ ಹೈವೇ ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ಟ್ರಾನ್ಸ್ಪೋರ್ಟೇಷನ್ ಇಂಜಿನಿಯರಿಂಗ್ ಇದ್ದೀನಿ. ಹಾಗಾಗಿ ನಮ್ಮ ಒಂದು ಎಬಿಲಿಟಿ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ಮತ್ತು ಇನ್ನು ಒಂದು ಸಲಹೆಗಳು ತೊಗೊಳೋದ್ರ ಬಗ್ಗೆ, ಎಕ್ಸ್ಪರ್ಟ್ ಒಪಿನಿಯನ್ ತೊಗೊಳೋದಕ್ಕೆ ನಮ್ಗೆ ಯಾವುದೇ ಸಂಕೋಚ ಇಲ್ಲ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ತಾ, ಈ ಒಂದು ಯೋಜನೆ ನಮ್ಮ ಅಭಿಪ್ರಾಯದಲ್ಲಿ ಚೆನ್ನಾಗಿದೆ ಅಂತಲೂ ಇರ್ಬೋದು, ಆದರೆ ನಿಮ್ಮ ಸಲಹೆ ಮತ್ತು ನಿಮ್ಮ ಇದನ್ನು ಏನೇ ಇದ್ರೂ ಕನ್ಸರ್ನ್ಸ್ ಇದ್ದರೂ ನಾವು ಅದನ್ನು ಅಡ್ರೆಸ್ ಮಾಡ್ತೀವಿ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ತೀವಿ. ಥ್ಯಾಂಕ್ ಯು ಮ್ಯಾಮ್.
ಥ್ಯಾಂಕ್ ಯು ಸರ್. ಸೊ ನೀವು ಒಪ್ಕೋತೀರಾ, ನಮ್ಮ ಸಿಟಿಸನ್ ಬೇಡದೇ ಇರೋ ಪ್ರಾಜೆಕ್ಟ್ ನೀವು ಮಾಡಲ್ಲ, ನಮಗೆ ಬೇಡದೇ ಇರೋದು ನೀವು ಯಾಕೆ ಮಾಡಬೇಕಲ್ವಾ? ಥ್ಯಾಂಕ್ ಯು. So all of us, can we just stand together in solidarity that we will question governance, we'll question and hopefully get the answers from Mr. Prahlad.
See, he has made this request. I want to formalize this so that the message goes correctly. The organizers here on behalf of the public have been asked to make a representation.
Sir, please wait, sir. Please, Prahlad sir, 1 minute.
Have been asked to make a representation to the government saying this is our opinion, and he says they will consider it and take it through due process on who should be, whoever they need to talk to, they will do that. I think it's important for you all to make a resolution today that you're against this flyover, because you've understood what it is, you've seen the reasons why it's a bad idea, and that you oppose it is a resolution that you people should make and send to the media and send to government.
We'll draft the resolution and
Can we all stand up and sing the national anthem together?
come forward. Just thank everyone for collecting 6,000 rupees.
Okay.
Announce them.
Also, thank you for your contributions. We've received 6,000 rupees as part of our expenses for the event. Thank you so much. Janagana mana adinayaka jaya he Bharat bhagya vidata Punjab Sindh Gujarat Maratha Dravida Utkal Banga Vindhya Himachala Yamuna Ganga Uchchala Jaladi Taranga Tava Shubha Name Jage Tava Shubha Shisha